Hello and welcome to unMadeGaming, guys. It is Wednesday and we are here with a special edition of 6 and 20 called the Slingshot. You'll figure out why. I'm sure you guys will get it. So with us here today is our normal cast and crew, plus one accidental legend, one Luis, one no more no less, one mother of goats, Esther, Sling. I have so many more names to go. Sling, Luis, whatever. One of you, who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing tonight?
I have many titles.
Yeah.
I'm Louise. I'm here on loan from Phantom, which usually do theirs tomorrow nights. And I am currently not sure who I'm playing. It's a little bit of a mixed bag of Sling, who's a 17-year-old sharpshooter from Tycherosi, and a demon who's a demon and is happy to be a demon.
Sweet. The loan is not temporary. It's actually a new cast member. We actually shift everything around. I already talked to Speedy. He's fine with it.
Yeah. Written consent. I am the new Shroud member.
Yeah, yep.
That's what that handshake was.
That's what the handshake was. It was actually what I said out loud was the truth, but what I said in chat was I'm keeping stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Trendane's in chat, I'm sorry, this is maybe the first you're hearing of it, but I am officially gone.
Sorry, Phantom.
Sorry.
But, you're down to 5. So the reason for you being here, Greg, who are you? What are you doing here? Why don't you have more titles? And who are you playing tonight?
I am Greg, and I'm Grimjack21502 playing Steam, the Tycherosi Lark. And it is my responsibility and reason for Sling's arrival here, because last Thursday on Phantom, Steam appeared via third party and kidnapped his sister, and that is why Sling is here.
Yep. And cause for more ghostly shenanigans. Ninja, who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing tonight?
I am Xmas Ginger Ninja. I'm going to be playing OC again, and I'm pretty fucking pumped for God Squad.
It's not happening.
That's all I got. It's a thing. Hashtag God Squad. Put it in chat.
It's not happening. I'm not putting it in chat.
God Squad.
I'm not.
Goats and hoes.
I'm not doing it. Slade, someone who got rightfully knocked unconscious last episode. Who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing tonight?
I'm Slave of Crit Dice Gaming. I'm going to be playing a corpse, I think, for most of this. And
God willing. God's willing.
Yeah, God's willing, yes.
And last, but definitely least, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And how much better is Shroud than the rest of the crews?
I don't have an answer for that last one. I'm sorry.
I just
can't even describe how sexy Greg is and how happy I am that he's finally here. And the rest of you are okay. And I'm so glad that Louise is here. But it's all about Greg.
Yeah.
Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly say I've just seen Joff's tweet, and it's my favorite thing in the world.
Now I gotta go look. Speaking of tweets, guys, go retweet. I want you to know that, so I worked from home today, Johnny, as did Mike, and I just grilled him all day about the episode because I was busy streaming. So.
Well, why didn't you watch the VOD?
Because I'm lazy.
Yeah, you were...
For 3 hours, the exact length of the episode, he grilled.
I grilled Mike, yeah.
For exactly 3 hours. That's hilarious. Exactly. Okay, so I'm Johnny, run the VideostoreCowboy channel. I am the GM for 6 and 20. This is the second of 3 shows this week. And we have the special guest, Louise, playing her lovely Sling. Where we left off. Yeah, totally nailed it. Was there anything else that you wanted to do, Mike, before I got started?
That was it. Okay. That was with that masterful entrance into the show. You are a ringleader.
Okay, so we left off in a lot of different sets of circumstances here. So we're going to start off with where we ended with Shroud last week. With the Shroud, you all went to participate as a part of a social score that ended up being very much focused on Nyx and Reymond. Reymond and Nyx got taken to the noble version, the noble family's version of Fight Club, and Reymond did equal parts of kicking ass and getting his ass kicked, while Nyx basically just beat the hell out of some young woman.
She deserved it. Like, it wasn't like I just assaulted a lady.
She asked for it.
Because she definitely asked for it, right?
Yes. She literally jumped in the ring and asked for it.
Okay. So we left OC and Steam up in the actual Vale, essentially the main room proper. They had a couple of drinks, had a couple of laughs, but otherwise it was pretty a non-eventful evening for the two of them. Shift to Thursday, we find ourselves in a situation on Phantom where Phantom crew, having just recovered Sling, were now trying to figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to handle this situation, because Sling was no longer Sling. Sling was Esther. Now, briefly, Louise, would you like to describe Esther for the audience?
Esther is a demon. Esther is obviously not the real name. The real name is unknown currently, and is a demon that used Phantom's actions of blowing up the lightning barrier to pretend to be a poor child who died in the blast. Oh no, what a shame. And use the guilt that came from that to try and get what it wanted. And it almost worked until she got punched by Grin / Jinx, also a man of many names. And then my bro over there took me home.
And so, Greg, would you like to describe what we talked about and what happened, or what Steam did at your behest after Jinx decided to punch a little kid? I mean, a god. I mean, Sling.
Word of our community's meta-wise, Steam has no clue that Wrath was actually trying to help his best friend. He is completely removed from the context of the scenario, and because he was finally able to track down his sister, all he saw was essentially very aggressive actions towards Sling, culminating with the punch. And as soon as he saw that, he snapped, and he knew that he was either going to get her away from them or die trying. And that's when I started texting you on.
Right, exactly. And it was at that moment that things shifted for Phantom, and they were then running from the circumstance of this elusive figure who tracked them all the way through to Crowsfoot, where Phantom finally had figured out sort of what was going on in their circumstances, and what the situation was kind of the setting of going on in Crowsfoot. However, Steam still was able to track them, and at the end of their episode last week, we found them going up against the elusive Steam, who subsequently was able to take some action, defend against Hocus, not get hooked, and then kidnap Sling and disappear. On top of all that, then we find Nyx going to the Opera House gathering at the invitation of the Man in White. And if you're playing the drinking game at home, you should be prepared right now to take a drink. So, Nyx, do you want to actually go?
Just keep drinking. Just drink. Just drink.
So, Nyx, do you want to explain briefly what happened and where you ended up at the end of that of the one shot on Saturday?
No.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so the one shot on Saturday was the long-awaited gala of the Man in White, who had allegedly assembled the leaders of several crews across Doskvol to be arranged to meet him and several other people. There were straight-up demons in bodies. There were a lady in rags. There was a man who glowed gold. There was all kinds of new colors in the ghost field that we'd never seen before. There was people in government. There was people in the dregs of society. Everyone was there. Sky was there. Mr. Wolf was there. So all kinds of people were there. And the Man in White had this big speech about what's happening in the city and how many times it's happened before over the course of hundreds of years. And he knew we were about to be attacked. We were attacked by some strange new faction we haven't seen before. And Sky, Nyx, Mr. Wolf, and Eclipse all jumped to the aid, among other people in the city, the aid of the White Man, the Man in White, to find more information. I believe Sky left with the Red Dwarf is what we've been calling him. He left with the Red Dwarf. Mr. Wolf and Eclipse left with the Man in White, and Nyx bound Sky in a ghost contract. And that's pretty much it.
And what were the terms of that contract?
That we have a truce.
Okay. So we've got a lot to resolve tonight. We've got a lot to get going and move forward. So where we're going to start is with the circumstances of what happened last week after Steam actually kidnapped Sling from Phantom. So, Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you. Can you talk a little bit about Steam's perspective on what was going on, what you ended up doing, and where you ended up after that?
Sure. The events that transpired on Phantom on Thursday, I want to make it very, very clear. Steam is wrecked. His ability to essentially infiltrate a room or a building with Phantom at their guard took everything that I had in my playbook's disposal just to get in there, and I still got wrecked. I was using multiple powers to their extreme, and I went from 0 stress to completely maxed out. As soon as the lightning hook hit me, the only way to get out of it was to take it, and I took it, and I'm busted. I mean, it could have gone 2 ways. Johnny had every option of just saying that I passed out, and they would have had me essentially. But I was able to get Sling, and Steam was able to get her far enough where they were able to escape Crow's Foot. But as soon as they got across the bridge, he's carrying the still slumber essenced form of Sling, Esther, in his hands or in his arms, when he can't help himself but rematerializes on the other side of the bridge from Crow's Foot. And that's where it would start.
So can you, so just because you described both the narrative elements of what was going on and the mechanical elements of what was going on, can you talk really briefly about the special abilities that you used before we pick up right as you kind of rematerialize? Yeah,
absolutely. As a lurk, I have the ability to slip into the ghost field. When I do that, it's essentially taking stress. If I augment that ability, I have several different little caveats I can give myself. Intangibility, having it last longer, going completely invisible. I use them all because that fucker Hocus was all over my ass and I couldn't get away from him without doing that. And as soon as I did that, he hooked me, and the only way to get out of that hook was I have another thing called the Devil's Footsteps, where I can do a movement of extreme athleticism bordering on godlike ability. And that, in conjunction with my already in effect ghost field, I was able to slip out and get Sling. Had I not used all of that stuff, they would have had me. They're way too powerful. And the fact, I'm still shocked as to why Sky and Ari didn't engage. If they had, I was done. I was going to run. But they didn't, so I got her. So.
Yeah, it's really surprising, and just from a metagame perspective, and stepping back as the GM and just talking about the mechanics of what was going down, the most interesting thing to me was that you survived both an incredibly powerful Whisper and an incredibly powerful Cutter. And the Cutter basically stepped up with one of his special abilities and interceded in the combat. And if he had been able to grab you,
that's why I didn't hit.
It would have made the change. It would have made the change.
I wasn't going to do any physical harm to them anyway. Steam's whole idea was get Sling. It wasn't kill Phantom. It wasn't, believe me, he had murderous thoughts at that time, but it was get her out of there. He knew he couldn't take them, but Steam he's got a God complex in more ways than one. So he never thought I can't do this. He just thought I have to try. And when he got in there, the combination of Hocus and Wrath, if he had connected with Wrath, I know he would have had a counter punch, and that would have been it. If he had done anything to Steam, if he had even just flicked me, I was down. I'm still like that. If anybody flicks me right now, I'm down. So it's I'm thunderously wrecked at this moment.
So which direction did Steam run in respect to his escape from Crow's Foot?
As the crows fly towards his barge in. night market.
Enjoy your stay.
So, but you had to essentially cross in some way, shape, or form either one of the bridges as using your abilities to be completely invisible, of which you probably would not have gone unnoticed, given that you were completely taxed. But, like, what direction, though? I mean, because you had a couple of options, right? You could run towards the docks, you could run towards Silkshore, you could run towards Charter Hall, or you could run towards Char Hollow. And to me, it seems like, and you say the direction of, Night Market, which is where your barge is, but from a circumstance at some point, you would have to choose some direction in order to get back that way. So really, it's just a matter of you determining what direction you headed, and that establishes the narrative of where we'll pick up.
Sure. Knowing that Charter Hall is the quote-unquote least gang saturated, one of the least gang saturated areas in the city, because of the university and because of the Whisper presence and all that stuff, that he would cut through that way, even though it's not necessarily a direct route to where he needs to go. He would know that it would be the path of least resistance. So
Absolutely.
Knowing that he is destroyed and that his sister is in a state that he has not yet identified, he is just trying to avoid conflict and get to one person in particular.
Okay, so when you materialize in, or when you reemerge into the normal world in Charter Hall, you're able to get far enough into the circumstance, or into the district proper, that you're able to get down a side street or an alley of some kind. And so you've got a moment to just take a breath, as a moment to relax finally, or to finally let go of all the strain, and just be able to relax your abilities for just a moment. And that's when you reemerge. What does it look like?
I'll just go ahead and RP it. But
okay,
as soon as he comes visible, he has the body of Sling in his arms, like a fallen soldier or a comrade carry. And as soon as he comes visible, he crashes against the wall and slides down until he is seated with her in his lap. And as he hits,
I have you. I have you. What have they done to you? It's all right. We're together. I'm here. I have you. Enjoy your stay.
what have you done? What have they done?
I found someone. She can help. She's like us. She's like us. She can help. It's okay. She can help. I can get us there.
Brother.
Sister. Rest. You're all right. Just rest. Just rest. I have you. I'm here.
Thank you.
Always. Always. I can take us somewhere safe. I will get us somewhere safe. Where's Note? Do you remember?
I need to get to Brightstone.
Just rest. What have they done to you?
At this point, he reaches down and he takes a corner of his cloak and he dips it into a puddle and starts scrubbing the makeup off her face.
They've covered you. I told you not to trust them.
I should have listened.
Enjoy your stay.
It's all right. We're together. We're together now. It's all that matters. Brightstone, we will go.
Brightstone. I need to get to Brightstone.
Brightstone, yes. Of course, but we must get somewhere first. Someplace safe. Where's Goat?
At that, Goat probably would come sprinting through a wall in his ghost form towards where we are slumped.
A gleaming endowment.
We have her, boy. We have her.
How would Ghost be responding to this situation? Because Goat is aware of that there's a difference with you.
Goat is super unhappy with this. Almost aggressively unhappy, I'd say.
So would he be more friendly towards Steam then than he would towards you? Would it be
Probably.
Keeping you in sight but not trusting you kind of a thing? Okay, so then describe to us what that's like so that Steam can react to it.
So Goat would come as fast as Goat possibly can, running directly through the wall, knowing that there is still some sling there that he can track. And as soon as he gets there, there's obviously something very wrong as there was before, and it's still wrong. And yet Goat knows Steam. Goat trusts Steam because Sling trusted Steam. And it's a familiar face, and it's the only thing that's real to Goat around here. So he'd probably run directly to Steam and almost probably growl at Sling and try to just kind of just next to Steam's leg, almost quivering.
It's all right. We have her. We have her. We got her out. Goat, I'm sorry, but you must go. They will use you. They will use your love as I did to find us. I do not wish to send you away, but I know no other way. Yeah. We should have done this a long time ago.
And at this point, Steam lifts the goggles off of his eyes and the smoke starts pouring out. And he leans forward and slips slightly into the ghost field so Goat can inhale the spectral essence that is his imprint, his Taikarosi imprint. Mechanically, this would mean that at any point, Goat can find Steam anywhere in the city. So it's kind of a big deal, I guess. But
well, it's a big deal in the same way that you were able to identify Goat's connection to Sling.
it
and
could be
track
used
them.
against him, yeah.
Yeah, and use it against them. So in a lot of the ways, it's that's the same thing. Now, I do have a question for you, and it's more of a far-reaching forward question, so that when the time comes, you have an answer for it. And you don't have to answer right now. You can play it off, but I'm just very curious, given that circumstance, are you going to tell the rest of the crew
About
that ability for Goat to be able to track you now?
No,
Okay.
not all of them anyway.
Okay.
Okay, at
Right.
this point, Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
no. At this point, Steam would pull his goggles back down, and
You must go. Give me time. If they come, I cannot stop them. They are together. They are two. I cannot stop them. They will take her back. Lead them away. You must protect us, Goat. It is the only way. That fucking whisper will follow you. He will use your love against us.
Enjoy your stay.
Give me time and then find me. Give me time to rest. And then if they come, let them. Go. Go.
Goat will take the moment to step slightly closer towards Sling and then run far away.
I have a question about Sling herself in this context, because clearly Esther is in control here. Would, like we saw towards the end of the last episode with Phantom, would Sling be trying to get out or to make some sort of? Would she be trying to make some sort of acknowledgement that there's a difference with that she's there? Would she even have the ability to at this point, or would the body be still so exhausted from what the crew Phantom crew put you through that she could even attempt to express herself?
I think Sling she's definitely trying, but it's even harder than it was before. This is a very bad day for Sling. Firstly, she gets possessed, and then her friend punches her in the face, and then her brother comes and almost dies, and then kidnaps her, and then everyone's almost dying, and now her dog's on the run. It's a very bad day for Sling, and she's seen now that Steam's obviously very upset, and she wants to be there, but I don't think she has the strength after last time to get through.
Is there anything that she would do to... is there a tell that she could give that would, even something slight, that would give Steam pause, that would make him think? Because he's already been triggered by the fact that Goat was growling at Sling when he came forward, which right now in the moment he's probably not going to process, but maybe a little bit later he can start putting things together. With one other thing he might be able to, and I know that you were able to come out of it for a second, but even if it's a flare of color in the ghost field, it's something that he could bite onto if it's different. But that's up to you. Well,
firstly, the voice is it's different. There's something off and wrong about it. And last session, when Sling did manage to make it through, the eyes changed. You could see in the eyes that it was Sling, so there's a slight almost difference there. There's something just off about the way she looks and the way she talks.
Okay. Steam is so blasted right now. It logically doesn't make sense for him to kind of pick up on nuance or anything right now. He's just ecstatic that he has her, and that they're both alive. So unless it would be something overt, he could put it together later, I would guess. Not trying to narratively compromise anything. But in this moment, I don't think he's going to get anything. Her eyes could be spinning in her head. He's not.
Full exorcism, the head's turning in circles.
Right, he's just
she's done this all the time.
I've got it. Right, yeah. So
everything's fine.
Okay, so then with that established as you being exhausted, let's briefly have you describe, once you recover your breath enough, or once you recover enough energy to be able to move, what does that look like and where do you head? Because you're so taxed, I'm not sure that you would necessarily be able to do the things that you need to do to be able to move, without being seen through the city.
No, at this point, he's going to have to rely solely on his parlor tricks. He's got his cloak on of shadow. He's going to do the old-fashioned thing. He's moving from ink splash to ink splash, stumbling as he's carrying her, and the whole time just looking down at her and kind of cupping her head against his shoulder as he moves through and just whispering, I have you. As they go through, and he's just making as the crow flies for the barge. And he's got one thing in his head right now, beyond his sister's health and well-being. All he can think of is,
I have to get to OC.
And that's it.
Okay, so we're going to move, narratively move through that and say that at some point eventually you actually end up there. From a mechanical perspective, at this point, we'll then jump into downtime because there was a score that was just accomplished, and we ended. I believe we did payoff, but we didn't discuss. Did we discuss heat?
We did. We discussed heat, payoff. We did
But we
level
did
up
not-
XP. We just didn't do it. We just didn't do downtime.
And we didn't do entanglements. Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly do entanglements, and then we'll move on to downtime actions. All right. So, what is your current heat level?
It's up there. 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
Okay, and
Well, it's at 8
At this
unless it's at 8 unless we never did crew XP for the one shot. So it's at 8 unless that affects that.
in this particular case, that part of crew XP is definitely not going to apply.
Okay.
Anything else that definitely? I mean, so I didn't get a chance to actually read the off chat discussion that was happening. So anything that narratively or anything that you guys figured out in respect to XP, I'm just gonna blanket go for it and say that's good.
Okay.
For individual characters. I'll let the guys from last night, and I'll let Speedy know for tomorrow night. But so from an individual perspective, take the XP that you guys dealt out, and I'll just make sure I peruse and make sure I understand what you guys said. And then for crew side as well, just make sure that in the same respect that you take into consideration that even though it was only you there, you were still advancing the crew's
We actually
intent.
didn't do crew at all. We waited for you for that one. So we did personal, and we'll wait for you for the crew one.
All right, so that's fantastic then. So we'll talk about that for next time. I am not going to say that there's not going to be any direct payoff or heat in that respect.
That makes sense.
All right. Now, so downtime. You guys just got done with the score specifically for the social engagement with Lord Balmore. Currently, Reymond is incapacitated. I explained this briefly to Mike about Nyx during the one shot, but it also kind of applies to to Reymond as well. The physicers there would have brought you back to consciousness and would have done the majority of the healing. So if anything that you would have at most level 1 harm. And so it would be more like, bruised and banged up or, that kind of a thing versus it being at the extreme of getting knocked out. However, highlighting again, you took a lot of stress there and you also took a trauma. So when that happens, all of your stress gets removed and now you have the trauma.
Word of our community's acclaim.
So what was the trauma that you chose, just to remind everybody from last week?
Unstable.
And what does that mean for Reymond Bowerstone?
So, when a certain subject comes up for Reymond, he essentially freezes and has a panic attack. If something gets raised, he's rendered pretty much useless in that situation, which isn't good.
Well, is it any situation, or is it very specifically to
Very
us?
specific. Very
Okay.
specific to a certain topic.
And that topic is?
Do I really want to tell the audience?
You definitely want to tell the audience, because from a mechanical perspective, I still need to know as well. Unless you want to message me privately, and then we can talk about it when it happens.
Yeah, let's do that.
Message the group privately so we know what we're.
Yeah.
What,
I think we all know.
Yeah, I think we all know, but at the same time,
we all do, but I just want
Watch the
to
show,
be
guys.
very explicit about it, just so that I make sure I know how to and not to trigger it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you'll trigger it.
Please message me anyways. Thank you. All right. Now, we're in downtime. As we talked about with entanglements, your wanted level is 0. You've got 8 heat, though. I'm going to roll the GM roll privately to make sure that so that it happens off in the background, and then subsequently it will appear at some point. But you guys have a special ability, the crew ability, that allows you to roll twice and take the lower 2 rolls. Is that correct? Mike?
Yes. You
Okay.
roll, yeah, because you roll 4 times. Sorry, I did the math, because it's always weird, because we have... Yeah, because we don't have heat. Oh, we don't have wanted.
You don't have a wanted level.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I've done that in the background. It was a pretty low number. I'm not going to say how low it was, but it was pretty low. After rolling 4 times, it's really surprising. So now we're going to jump directly into downtime. Who wants to go first?
I think Bowerstone should go first.
Yeah, so I think for the first one, can we just bring the tables up just into the game, just to see what we've got to get completed and things like that?
You mean the clocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, hold on just a second. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, so nothing that is really involved with there. So first one, I'm just going to train.
Okay.
I'm going to train in command. The way he's going to train about that is he's going to start getting more arrogant towards his staff at home, ordering them around, but pretending that they're other people. He's trying to make himself more authoritative than what is meant to be.
Wait, so you're training by bossing people around? Is that what I'm...
Basically, think of it like he's role playing by himself. So so when he's giving commands to his staff and whatnot, he's imagining that there are other people.
Okay.
So he's putting confidence up and the arrogance up.
Okay.
So you're pretending to be Nyx as your downtime action.
Sure, why
That's
not?
what it sounds like to me.
You're
Yeah.
pretending to have authority in the group. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you're that's specifically training your resolve then. Okay, right on.
Mhm.
All right. So great. That's your first downtime action. What are you going to do for your second one?
For the second one, I'm going to... I thought there was another clock up there regards information.
Which information?
It was blackmail and it wasn't quite complete.
That's the Horace Keel one.
Right, thought so. So that's one I'm going to try and keep going for.
Okay.
I was thinking, Horace Keel, yeah, I was like, I know that name somewhere, but I'm not sure if I know that name somewhere.
Fair enough. All right. So last time you engaged some previous relationships that you have in your background, that you have decided to remain mysterious for the moment, and you had learned a fair bit, right? You had learned that there was a fair bit of information about Horace Keel that you were paying them to really kind of dig in and give you every little detail. And they couldn't give you, they hadn't compiled it all together yet, but the one thing that they were able to tell you that was pretty significant is that Horace Keel is not who he appears to be. He is not a member of the Keel noble household.
Mm-hmm.
And so in attempting to assemble that, or to having them do that get more of that information, what are you using from an action roll perspective to continue on? Is there something that you want to facilitate in their information gathering, or do you just want them to just kind of do more of that for you?
I think I just want them to do more of that. He's in no position at the moment that he's assisting with it, so I can't go in there with a sway and try to sway them. It's just more of a command.
Okay. Right, and so when you command them, what does that, I mean, from a narrative perspective, what does that look like?
So, from this aspect, he would have gathered a couple of those people, probably even in his home, and starting to give them directions. You search his private quarters, you search around his family, and where he works. And then I want you to report back to me with your findings at such and such hour. So okay. He's no longer asking, now that they're coming back and starting to have more of a recurring thing happening. He's starting to have more of a say as to what he wants done.
Okay. All right. So why don't you go ahead and roll that, and remember that there is no position or effect It's just the rating of the dice, and then it's a question of whether you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain.
Now, I have an ability, and it allows me to have +1 die, and it says with those that I have an intimate relationship with, but it said when it comes to intimate, it doesn't mean, physical or romantic. It's those that I have a close connection with. Would this count towards that?
Explain to me how it's an intimate circumstance, even though it's not.
Think of it like a second family.
So you're commanding your second family?
He didn't say he's a nice person to his family.
Okay.
Think of it like a sibling. Sibling.
So like an older sibling kind of a situation. Yeah, I guess that works. I mean, given the closeness of that relationship as you've described to me in the past, I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be cautious because it'll start a clock from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
As to whether they'll actually continue to listen to you at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So. All right. So you can definitely use that, and so that's going to add a +1 die. Do you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
No, I won't. I'm going to start playing things a little bit more safe. So 4.
Okay. So that advances the clock by 2 places. So as we talked about in the past, ultimately at the end of the day, what will happen is the next time that you engage this particular downtime long-term project, it will go to its completion and all will be revealed. So in commanding them for what you do, you actually find out a fair bit more of information about the fact that he is not who he says he is. In fact, he has a residence in Silkshore, of all places. He operates in and out and does most of his living out of Silkshore, out of a brothel. He stays in a little structure behind a brothel. Not one that you're familiar with, and if you were to ask OC, it's not one that's necessarily she's familiar with either intimately, but she would be aware of them from a business perspective. It's clear that everything that has been said about him is a front. He's a very cautious individual when he goes to and from his actual residence. But at the end of the day, he is definitely not of a noble family. He is not living in either Brightstone or Charter Hall. He's not exhibiting, the behavior of somebody, 100% of the time who is exactly who he says he is in the public eye.
Okay.
One other thing that you do tend to note, or that is noticed about him, is that it's easy to pick a fight with him. Somebody comes up on the street, he has a real temper.
Interesting. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters.
Okay. Now, that is your second downtime action. Do you want to take an additional downtime action for a coin, or?
No,
okay.
We'll move on.
All right. Who's next?
I will go next. So I am training, and I'm training in Attune by way of studying the Codex Diabla inside of Eden. I now have the dagger, I have access to the book, I'm reading through the book and trying my best to make heads or tails of what is in this book. Like, I know what's in it because I was told what's in it, but I actually don't know it myself. Like, I've never seen it myself. So he's very amateur at attunement, but he's seen it done, he knows how to do it. So he's going to be training in attempting to attune to the dagger and to the book, and just see what's going on there.
So you're basically you're training resolve.
I'm training resolve, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So in taking those actions, what is the first inklings of Nick's actually doing that? What does that mean? Is it he's beginning to peel back the veil essentially that is.
So he attempted to attune to the necklace with no avail, but learned that he accidentally attuned to other things in the Bowerstone Manor.
Right.
He's seen it done countless times. He's been around people that can do it, so he understands the principle. So he basically has this alone time while he's in Eden because Bowerstone's off doing his own thing, OC's doing his own thing, and Steam's been off the grid for days. He's gotten back from the gala, and to be honest, at this point, Nyx is fuming. So his first thing is that he goes back to Eden, and I'm going to relieve stress by way of bloodying Professor Valen. And then once I've relieved enough stress, I'm going to, now in my calm demeanor, go research that book. And basically he has the dagger, and he's just like, he's skilled with knives. He's the hook and everything. And so he's kind of twirling the dagger around, switching hands as he's reading this and seeing what the hell any of these like the normal mundane text mean, and trying to like see past the mundane text to the text that's written over top of it in demonic or in Ghostfield. And he's basically just trying to attune through the knife into the book because he knows they're somehow tied together based on what he learned from the demon.
Okay, so a couple things about what you just said. One, all that sounds great from an action perspective, a downtime action perspective. I am going to want you briefly, when we get to free play, to describe the circumstances of you coming back from the gala and getting at that point. So, any actions you take or any follow-up you do, exactly, just all of that. The third thing is, I think this is an interesting element of story. And so if it comes up that you start attempting to do things with a tune in, as a part of the, a part of a score or anything else, I'd really like to see you describe that transition from, reality to
once he masters it. Once he masters it, he will absolutely have a way to describe that.
Well, no, so for Sky, it's very obvious over on Phantom that when he has learned to attune, it's very focused on his sister, and so there's a narrative hook. There's a point where it's like, first it starts with the sister and something else. For you, it's more about sheer will, right? Nick's sheer will to break that veil. Yeah. And so
if you want to know what it's going to look like when he eventually figures out how to do it. So through sheer, it's basically he forces the veil open, and the way he does that is he focuses on the object he knows that have power, such as primarily the knife. Like he's keeping the knife on him now that he knows what it does and how useful it is. And there's a book called The Subtle Knife, and basically what the user does is he puts the knife out and then rips open the veil. So he literally harnesses his energy, whatever energy it takes, spectral or otherwise, into this knife and slices open a hole between this world and the next.
Okay, I feel like I pushed you to give that big reveal. It actually wasn't what I was going through, but that's actually incredibly cool. That's another description of the ghost field, going into the ghost field. But I was just looking for you what that looks like at the start of that. What does it look like? That's
what it looks like. Is he's reading the book and trying to go through, and he's just flicking the knife through his hand, flicking it the other one, and then like out of anger, he stabs it into like a page of the book or like the table, and like slices, and a hole appears. And now he realizes that he can kind of do this, and he tries to figure it out. And he's like using the book, like putting the book in different places, cutting the book, seeing it was the book that did it, or other things like that.
All right, everyone. Okay, very cool. So your first downtime action is to train resolve. Your second downtime action is to indulge your vice, which is what happens previous to that, though, right?
Yeah. So my first downtime is to indulge my vice, which I did by bludgeoning the unconscious Professor Valen, who is strapped to a Judas cross. And since I have an ability that lets me move my stress up or down, my vice up or down, I'm going to move that up to 5. And relieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stress entirely. And then I spend my next 2 actions training with the knife and the book.
Okay, fair enough. Cool. So now that you've taken your 2 default actions plus your character ability action, do you want to spend an additional coin or rep and do something else again?
Nope.
Okay, great. Who's next?
Me.
All right.
So first she wants to start a long-term project. I'm going to make it quick. She wants to pretty much gain intel via her network of women that work with Madame Teslin and just find out more about her.
Is there any reason that you're particularly going after Madame Teslin, just out of curiosity?
She's number one, and OC wants to be the top of the food chain.
Does it have something to do with the fact of information that you might not know from the one shot?
I didn't watch all the one shot, to be honest.
No, but it's really interesting that all of a sudden OC from randomly wants
everyone else has a mission, and now her companion, we'll say, is I can go with something. Okay, I'll do something.
No. I'm just
I honestly didn't watch the one shot.
I'm actually asking for clarification because Madame Teslin did make an appearance there. That's the only reason why. No,
no, she met her once, and they were cordial.
Right.
But she's starting to realize that her network only extends as far as her establishments and some little odds and ends.
Okay.
And I think a little bit of what Steam keeps calling her a god, and it's really going to her head. Now she just wants to take over the industry.
That's a fair argument. I was just curious if it was motivated by something else. So that's perfectly cool. All right. So how does OC start that long-term project? How does she begin to unravel the mystery that is Madame Teslin?
Her Rook network, which work within her walls, not as ladies of the but serving girls. So they have a little bit more access to be able to walk in and out of rooms where things are happening, people are talking, and they go unnoticed.
All right. So, so that's the narrative description of it. What mechanically does it make sense for you to roll to accomplish that? Is that a consort or is that a command?
I would say command. Sway? No, probably command.
Well, so sway, where sway would apply here is if you're having to convince them. If they're working for you, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, no, it'd be command. You're right.
Okay. So, all right. So go ahead and start with command. And consort also makes sense, unless if it's an authoritative, you're going to do this versus, listen, I'm really interested in knowing more about this. Can you work with me to get this done? Kind of a thing.
I have specific questions, but that'll come in later when you could decide what I do or don't based on,
Okay. So
I would do command probably.
Okay. All right.
Because I'd be like, go do it. And they'd be like, okay. Because it's really just keep your ears open and, pay attention a little bit more, because I don't ask them to pay attention to owners of the company. They just pay attention to the customers, so I can get information from them if they have any.
Okay. So go ahead and there's no position, no effect. What is the, do you want to take any additional die by pushing yourself?
Yes.
Or, okay, you want to push yourself or do you want to take a devil's bargain?
Push myself.
Okay, so it's going to cost you 2 stress. And it gives you an additional die. And then if you don't want to take a devil's bargain, go ahead and roll it.
1 additional die, you said?
1 additional die for pushing yourself.
Okay. 1.
Okay, so this actually works out really well narratively speaking, because and we'll move the progress clock 1 slot. Madame Teslin is the madam of the most well-respected and oldest of the establishments in Silkshore. So she's been around a long time, and she's been working really hard to maintain the front that is her. Mm-hmm. Little cracks are always there for anybody who presents such a phenomenal facade as their front. But as you implore your servants to begin working, you're given a clue into the fact that there are probably a couple of servers that you could engage that work for her in her establishment, that might have more information or might be able to be the pathway into finding more details about her. One of them is named Tara, and the other one is named Evelyn, and both of them work as handmaids or maids, or essentially people who service all of the cleaning of the establishment.
Okay, cool. And on to my second one. I am going to train in skirmish out by the barge. He told me that I could use it. Steam, last time we were there, told me that I could use it whenever I needed it. And now that she's achieved mastery, fun fact, the Arabian sword art. For sash fighting, she's going to complete some more of her training and just kind of stay on her feet.
Okay. All right, and so you're going to take that, and that fills through to your mastery, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then so
I did last game, so I'm just saying.
Okay,
it now.
and so so in your training though, what are you? So are you training? What is it?
Prowess.
Prowess.
Skirmish,
okay.
technically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So prowess. You're training prowess. Okay. Awesome. Do you want to push yourself or do you want to spend coin or rep for an additional downtime action?
No, I don't.
Okay. Excellent. Reymond, you're the only one left.
No, he already went.
When did he go?
He went.
It's nice to know that
He was the
I'm
longest
sorry.
one to talk.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry,
understand. Yeah, fuck me.
Let's just skip Greg again.
No, Greg had too much time in the front. Fuck him. Whatever. All right, Greg, you're up.
Okay. Come
Can't see you.
on. I know.
Can't see you. Can't see you.
That actually
on,
makes it
just-
worse. Just give it a sec.
Yeah,
Lean
all right.
in and come back.
There
you
we go. Is this all right? Okay. Okay, so while she is training at the barge, Steam would show up with Sling in his arms. He would bust in through the front door, which is essentially right off of the gangway into the barge. He blows into the front door. He's holding her. He drops to one knee. He looks up at OC and he says,
Help me.
and he collapses.
She's going to rush over, and before she can go to help Steam, she's looking at Sling, at this woman with makeup covering her face, but just enough to see the, her heritage. And just kind of, she sort of reaches over and gently wipes away a little bit more of the makeup and goes back to Steam and kind of props him up a little bit against the door.
Given some time of absolute unconsciousness, whenever Steam would come back around, he would tell OC,
The choir. Night market.
he needs to reduce stress or he is going down.
She sees he's hurt, and given her past with her family, lure is a very sensitive subject for OC. It's the reason she left home. It's the reason she is where she is, and why she's so cold, and why she only trusts certain people, and why, her wanting to take care of people. And Nye is gone, and she's the loneliest she's ever been, since she was a child and on the streets. And she's going to slowly begin to tear up as tears roll down her face, and she starts inhaling.
Okay.
From Steam? Never mind the choir, I don't have to go anymore.
She can't carry the two of you.
Oh shit! That's dope as fuck. All right, man, that's all he needed.
Well, roll your dice then. Roll your indulge.
Oh God, I hope you overindulge.
There's absolutely no way
no
that's
way.
happening.
I would
that's
like
right, you're
to.
maxed out.
Oh boy.
Wait a second. Hold on. Time out for a second. That's actually Mike just said something. Are you actually maxed out, or do you have one pip of stress left?
I actually have 2 pips left, but one of the
Okay,
pips is only
okay.
that bonus pip. Yeah, no, I'm not. Believe me,
I was going to say. I was going to ask you about the trauma.
Dude, I was sitting here with a yellow legal pad last week, going, "Okay, I'm at 5. I can do this. I can do that." So I'm right at where I need to be.
Right on.
No bonus. Wait, I forget how to do this. It's just straight up roll, right?
Just straight up roll.
Just straight up roll.
Yeah. Not bad.
Boom.
Not bad.
He likes that OC action.
Guys, get a room, please.
Steam. Is,
We have one. His sister's passed out. It's fair game.
Gross. It's like a
I'm
frat.
so
it's like a
grossed
frat-
out.
It's like a frat party. It's like a frat party in
Also,
church.
she doesn't know that's his sister.
All right. So that's.
Can Phantom take me
that's
back?
amazing.
Can I go home?
No! The goats are coming. Just wait. Just hold out.
I don't remember promising you goats. Stop that.
You didn't
I've
promise or
always
anything.
promised gifts, and I never get them.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
I got the hose. I'll bring the goats soon, I promise.
So downtime action number 1, you indulge your vice. OC's inhaling the shit out of you, and what
What a sentence.
Please don't put it like
What a sentence.
when you come back from your exhausted state and discover her doing this over you, I want to hear what happens.
To OC?
No, to Steam. How does Steam react in this situation? She's the equivalent of a god to him.
Right.
This implies something else, though.
It does. As soon as he would realize that he is not in the choir, he would briefly glance to make sure Sling is still nearby, but then his entire focus would be on OC. And as she is doing this, and he sees the emotion in her face and the tears coming down her face, at one point he will reach up and he will pull his goggles or grab them off the floor wherever she took him and pull them back down over his eyes, cutting off the trickle of lore from the orbs. And he will cup his hands around her face and he will pull her close and he will stare at her and he will say, "You and I, we have more than a destiny. We are the product of divinity. Thank you." And he will hug her.
As he's hugging her, she's going to look down at the floor and move away from him to her and see if she's okay. Because clearly she must mean a great deal, because he is... she's never seen him in that shape.
Am I okay, Johnny?
Hey, they took over the narrative here with this downtime action. You can step in at any point. Go for it. I mean,
Are you the Little Mermaid? Are you on the frog like, kiss the girl?
I'm just dead like, go
Because
on,
she's like
Flip.
young too, and she just she wakes up, she's like looking at, she's like,
I'm gonna tell Mom.
oh god, gross.
You're alive.
I don't know. Lulu, are you there? I mean, is Sling waking up? Is Esther waking up? Is Esther ever actually asleep in this circumstance?
Man, so many questions, so many answers that I know the answer to. And the answer is yes.
She's awake or she's asleep?
Probably awake. Esther doesn't sleep. Demons don't need to sleep.
Okay,
She
so what
did just
happens?
rub her face.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. For narrative purposes and to speed this along, my second downtime action is I want Steam to realize what's going on with her, whether that's a gather information or however we want to mechanically kind of call it. But the fact that she's not who she says, not who she's portraying herself to be.
I'm going to make a suggestion and tell you to take a different downtime action, and we'll just figure it in narratively someplace else, because that's a whole. I mean, because there really isn't a gather downtime action.
We're taking her somewhere, so we'll figure it out along the way, I'm sure, when you guys are speaking.
Exactly,
and you're asking her things, what she's been up to, whatever. We'll
get through the mechanical aspect of the downtime action, and then you guys will be able to carry the narrative to whatever you guys decide as in respect to figuring out what's going on with her, or as it turns into a score or what have you. So just from a mechanical perspective, just give me a second action that you think is we can, and we'll work it in later.
He's training in a tune.
Okay, so you're training resolve.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this point, he will drag himself across after his hands linger for a second on OC, and then he pulls himself kind of half sliding, half crouching over to Sling, and he puts his hands on her shoulders and kind of squares her to him, and he says,
Sister, are you all right?
I will be. Thanks to you.
Where have you been? I've been leaving notes everywhere.
I've been with the others. I thought they could help me.
Help you do what?
You know what, brother. You know what I've always needed to do.
You do not need them for law.
Not law. Not now.
What is it? I can help you.
No, this...
You said something about Brightstone. We can go. OC will help us.
Twitch will probably turn to OC for the first time. Like, you trust her?
She's going to undo. She doesn't wear her corset or anything when she's training, so she will just. She's wearing like a dress and just slip the shoulders so that she can see her back.
Very well.
She's one of us, sister. She is. Divinity always finds its own.
I need to get to Brightstone. That's where I was going when you found me.
Of course. What is there? What do we need? How do we prepare?
As we always do. Prepare for war.
Again. Together.
Again.
At this point, he kind of squares his eyes just for a second, and he says,
And so before.
Wait, sorry, I wasn't ready. Hang on, I don't know where it's gone. I've ruined everything. Oh, God. Hang on.
technically...
You're fired.
If technically... Wait, just don't do anything, Louise. Technically, if this isn't Sling...
She won't remember.
She won't know this.
I won't remember.
And so before.
Yes. As
Pussy
before.
looks at them like that's anticlimactic.
As before. As is now.
At this point, he slips into the ghost field. And he stands up. What does he see now that he's really looking at his sister? Does he see a different color?
I don't quite remember how he described it. It's
Trindane said it's red, correct? A demon's red.
a demon is red, but the circumstance around Sling was that it was almost a symbiotic relationship between the spirit and the demon presence inside of her. I think that's the way we described it on Phantom.
It is a different color.
Enjoy your stay.
It is blue and red side by side.
He slips back out and his eyes narrow as he stares at his sister.
I think OC would know because that's what he did when he was looking at Nye in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Kept a distance and
At this point, he gives a hand motion to OC to kind of ready her. And he knows that she's got her swords and she's training.
Who are you?
What do you mean?
No games with me, sister.
OC has her sashes around her hands.
Why is it always the mortals?
You're dealing with a different breed.
Am I? Am I really?
What will it take?
I'm going to Brightstone.
And I will take you.
Good.
If you leave her when we get there. Do you agree to that?
Why?
You don't have to, but you want to go.
I do. And I can and
you
probably would, go on my own.
Can you tell that I'm lying? When I'm lying?
You don't want to know what I can tell.
Good. Then know this. I will slit my sister's throat before I let her be taken with you.
Then start planning the funeral.
Brightstone.
Brightstone.
And then we have a conversation.
Why not? Sounds like fun.
There are less aggressive parties to inhabit. You know this.
Does it look like this is my first time?
No, it does not. And a being as wise as you should know when enough is enough.
Oh, my dear, dear brother. We've barely even begun.
Brightstone.
To Brightstone.
OC. We'll need everyone.
She's gonna walk out. She's gonna not say anything and just walk out to the carriage. And she'll turn back when she hails. You know, she rode there, I'm assuming, with one of her carriages. And we'll turn back and say, I'll meet you there.
We will stay here. Bring them to us. I do not want her it around the others.
Always so controlling, brother.
Call it what you will.
So I have a question here. This is the first time we're seeing Esther, or whatever it is that's pushing Esther forward, fully step out, like personality-wise. Before there was it seemed like there was a little bit of defensiveness or a little bit of sarcasm and antagonism. But this is you fully stepping forward with that. What is the disposition change going on in Sling's mannerisms in her body and in her expression?
In how just like Sling herself is moving as this is happening.
Yeah, like is there a very particular is there a way that that Esther or the demon inside of Esther or them carries themselves differently?
Much more regally. With Sling before, it was like she would slump, she would not particularly care too much about how she appeared, but with this, it's very straight backed, it's very straightforward, it's very confident in the way that Sling never really was.
Okay. Is she more like she's wearing a skin? Is it like wearing a suit? Or is that just more fully feeling comfortable in the body, being able to naturally express itself?
It's more like wearing, like she's wearing Sling.
Okay. All right. So we're going to cut to, I guess, OC. What is it that you're trying to accomplish now? Are you trying to go get Nyx and Bowerstone, or what?
I'm going to get them, but I'm also sharpening my weapons in the carriage on the way.
Okay. So where are you going to find them at?
The Veil. Not the Veil, I'm sorry. The church.
Okay. So what happens when you guys get there? Let's go ahead and just jump to that. What happens when that in those circumstances?
Are they not as they're just bruised now, right? They're not. It's level 1 harm.
In the case of Reymond Bowerstone, yes, that's basically what's going on. He's recovered enough, but Nyx has also just been through a little bit of a fight because these. Oh well, so okay, hold on just a second though. Let's talk about timing and perspective here. My understanding was that everything that Nyx did in his downtime actions were all happening after the experience of the gala. Yet this is happening right after the events of last week on Phantom. So, how do we resolve this narrative?
Well, it could have taken. I mean, it's a city that he just walked across. It could have taken him quite a while to walk and hide in the shadows, and it could have taken him more than I assumed based on the timing that like Steam was taken, and then Sky had no choice but to go to the gala because you can't say no to the man in white. I assumed it was like within the next few hours.
Right, we could also stretch it out 24-hour period. OC takes a day to round up everybody before she comes back, sending word that, she's on her way. She's not, but it's going to take time.
She would leave a message with Bowerstone if he's free, and then go back to the barge and wait with them.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just looking for a way to explain it so that it makes sense given the context that the one shot happened and that all those circumstances actually occurred as this is going. Okay, so we're going to jump to everybody gathering back at the barge then.
Do you come to the church?
Yes.
Okay, it's in ruins. The secret hideout. The door is open. If Nyx is there, the door is open. All of the furniture is flipped over. It looks like someone went through here in a hurricane.
She is gathering up her dress and casually walking past the mess, assuming that someone had a tantrum in here.
Yeah.
And which is probably what it looks like. No actual like blood or anything anywhere, just except for where you are with Vale.
Oh, there's blood.
But she'll walk down and see you. Look at your hand.
Yeah, you would see a trail of blood leading into the church, right down through the open door. You'd see all of the furniture is flipped over. You'd see most of the doors are open, and the door where the demon was is also open, and you just see a limp guy, like, bleeding. And you see Nyx just casually reading a book. And you see he doesn't have his typical jacket on, but you see his entire arm is just, this arm is just bloody all the way down to, like, from wrist to elbow.
She leans in the doorway. You had a fun night without me, I see.
I had a night, that's for sure. What news do you bring?
You're to come with me. There's a situation.
Great. What else can go wrong? And you see him flip the obsidian knife, and he puts it where you know his hook goes. And he gets up and leaves sans coat.
She's going to stop him and say, bring anything you would normally need for one of our events.
Give me a moment. And you see him like lifting furniture, finding the things he was.
She's just going to leave without you.
Yeah.
She just leaves and goes to tell Bowerstone.
Okay, and so what is that? Is there an exchange there that actually happens, or is it just Bowerstone just shows up at the?
You said for Bowerstone to meet you at the barge, correct?
That's what we're all doing.
Right.
She's not waiting for you guys. She's just going back.
So he's going to take a few servants and a wagon and go to the barge. And when he gets to the barge, he exits, and two of his servants get out with him, and they're carrying essentially a suitcase of things as he waits at the barge.
She's going to stop you and say, they can't come with us. And she'll grab the other side of the suitcase and wait for you to grab the other side.
It'd be like, take the carriage back home. And they'll get out.
Okay, so are we cutting to the actual barge now? Okay, so
I heard you could take a hell of a punch.
Still healing. Let's just say I'm not a fan of politics anymore.
That's a bold statement.
It was a bold fist that hit me as well.
At least you didn't get your ass kicked by a woman.
I didn't.
She dished it out. She dished it out.
Not yet. I haven't had a fight with OC yet.
So we get to the barge.
You get to the barge. What do they find? What situation do they find the three of you in? Because OC joins Steam and Esther at that point.
She'll get to the door and just say, be patient with this, and open the door to them.
When they would walk in, they would see that wherever Sling Esther is walking around, residing. Steam is sitting cross-legged on the floor, and any repositioning that she does, he just kind of casually moves and refocuses and squares to her. Otherwise, he's just sitting cross-legged on the floor.
So is this like a vigilant kind of a circumstance?
He's waiting and watching.
And what's his issue?
So Nyx walks in and takes a second, immediately recognizing the description that is Sling, and looks around and sees the stations of the Forgotten Gods, noting that there is one that looks like... Oh, no, you can't see the actual things.
You can't see, you can see stations, you can't see the icons.
Yeah. So he sees the actual stations like that it appears that Steam has either stolen or inherited or built a church boat. He kind of looks around, sees that Steam's being weirder than normal, and
enjoy your stay.
He sees Sling, and he kind of glances back and forth between the two of them. He says, "You said that I should come meet face to face, not that you should come meet face to face. Sling, I presume."
I just met my sister.
Sorry, I must have missed something. Am I supposed to care about who any of these people are?
No. They are here to help my sister. And in turn help me.
Charming.
Great. More relatives.
At this point, he will leave. For the first time, his gaze drops from Sling, and it turns around to take in Nyx and Bowerstone. And in turn, he says to both of them, "I need your help."
It appears so. What is this? And who is your sister?
This is my sister. What is inside her is not my sister.
A pleasure to meet you all.
Oh, God.
She's gonna get backhanded by the end of the episode by OC, I swear to God.
Steve.
Sorry.
Steve,
Lightly.
what are you trying to say?
A polite backhand.
My dear Alderman, there is a demon inside my sister. It wants to go somewhere. I intend to take it to Brightstone. I need your help.
Nyx, remind me, what happened to the last demon we had?
I let him go. Brightstone is a war zone. What do you want in Brightstone?
Do you need to know?
Yes.
Is it not simply enough that, well, a god would kneel before a demon in the first place?
We do not kneel.
There will come a day, but that is not today. Tell us where you need to go.
You could sure fool me. We're going to Brightstone. There's something I left behind there. I would very much like it back.
Where in Brightstone did you leave it?
Well, it moves around often, but I can find it.
Anyone who is astute would notice that Nyx does not have... actually, Sling might be the one that notices. Nyx doesn't have the his jacket or the Bowerstone jacket on, but his arm does have, like I said, it has gauze on it now, but on his arm, above the gauze, is a tattoo of a sparrow that was never there before.
She would have seen it when she saw your arm.
Sling might know what it is. I'm not sure if Sling is able to. Right, I'm not sure if Sling can still see inside Esther. I don't know how that works. Yeah, he looks to I guess, Steam in mostly confusion. He says, "So you're asking for an escort to Brightstone?"
You are capable people. So yes, I am asking you to help me take my sister to Brightstone.
That seems easy enough. What's the catch?
There is no catch, Nyx. If you do this, I will owe you. And that should be enough for you.
It's more than enough.
My God, you guys are sickening. You're just like the last lot.
At this point, Steam pulls Bowerstone away to the back of the barge.
OC will keep an eye on her.
When he gets him back, and he knows he's not out of earshot of whatever the hell's inside Sling, but at this moment, he looks at Bowerstone and squares him and moves within just a few inches of his face. And he says,
Alderman, I fear we will not need an alderman on this quest.
You're needing my skills from before. That was a life ago.
No, it wasn't.
People died
Reymond.
while I was like that.
Reymond, ask yourself this question. Are you more a man or less of a man after the mask?
If I'm going to help with this, I will not be Reymond. I have bought the equipment I need. But let me make this very clear, Steam. I will not be doing this so often. I want the mask dead.
So you say.
So you say that's your sister, correct?
She's in there somewhere, yes.
The only reason I'm doing this, I'm letting you know right now, is because it's your family.
I know.
Any other reason, I wouldn't care. But you've helped me a lot.
At this point, he raises a hand and he puts it gently on Bowerstone's shoulder. And he says,
Help me with my family, Reymond. And I swear to help you with yours.
Done deal. Let's go and reunite you both.
I look forward to meeting the mask.
and he pulls back.
When they come back, can I do a flashback?
What do you want to do with your flashback?
I want to make a duplicate of that mask, but a little bit different. She would have made one after Nye blew up with it, just in case he ever, she uses it for extracurricular activities, but it's been dry cleaned, so she would have a duplicate of that mask.
So there's a third mask?
Second.
There's a third mask.
She's yes, one to be worn by him. Second.
All right. So I'm not going to assume. That makes complete narrative sense from something that OC would do. She would, cover all bases in that respect. So I'm not even going to say that it's unnecessary for a flashback. Okay.
She'll hand it over to him and just wink at him, and then just walk back over and.
Oh wait, you carry it though?
Oh, it's with her. She knew that's what she got when she went back.
Okay.
Fuck yeah, man.
Okay.
So as Steam finishes talking to Bower Bomb, as soon as he whatever he says, and then Bowerstone begins to turn and walk away, he's intercepted and passed by Nyx as he takes advantage of Steam being away from everybody else, and kind of corners him in the same thing, and reaches into his back and slips out the dagger and just sort of tosses it between fingers, and he attempts to use his attunement. And you'll see that it sort of shimmers and opens a portion of the veil, and he looks to you and says, "The favor that you said you owe me, I'd like to cash that in sooner than later. I can't do this myself. There's something in me, but I can't see it. I need your assistance."
Why do I feel like one of OC's girls at the moment?
You are one of OC's girls in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Power bottom.
What do you need, Nyx?
Not you. He passes you. He goes to Steve.
All right.
Yeah,
He's talking to
yeah, he's talking to Steve.
I thought you were talking
No, he
about
doesn't
Let
need
the-
he doesn't
let-
need to do anything.
Let the adults talk.
You're normal as hell.
Back to your corner.
He says, I think something's either found its way inside me or is tracking me. And I can't figure out what or why.
I will help you, Nyx. But I can't now. I don't know what we face in Brightstone. Neither do you. As soon as we are clear, as soon as my sister is back, I am at your disposal.
Nyx looks over his shoulder back at everyone else and turns back and says, "Whatever we face in Brightstone, bring everything you have. I just left there." And he holds up his scarred arm.
We shall see.
He walks back over to Sling, Esther.
Point the way, sister.
Follow me.
Okay, hold on just
An
one
awkward
second.
carriage ride.
I have a question about the exchange between Nyx and Steam real quick, and then we'll allow Esther to take us where we're going next. When Nyx presents the knife and he does the cutting motion, right? For Nyx, this is the beginning of his attempt at learning to, as he described it, pierce the veil. What he's actually doing is attuning to the ghost field. But for him, it's a very physical, violent act. And that really falls in line with who Nyx is. How does Steam perceive that?
It's a tuba and a flute.
Well, sure, it is a tuba and a flute, but when a tuba and a flute are together, they still make a particular sound. It's dissonant or it's in harmony, whatever.
Oh, I didn't say it was wrong. I just said that it was two completely different ways of doing it, yeah.
Well, sure. What I'm asking is what does it look like to Steam who is essentially plays the flute, when Nyx plays the tuba? What does it sound like? What is it? I mean, what is the
known to play the flute?
It's beautiful, harmonious music.
Right.
Don't tell Turndane that. I think he'll appreciate that.
So what you're saying is they're making beautiful music together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, if you're asking narratively what it looks like or how
I'm asking, yeah.
Physically, whenever I've heard it described a couple different ways, but for Steam, it's almost like walking into the rain line of a thunderhead. He just slips in as the rain takes him over, and he becomes part of the storm.
Okay, so that's actually not what I'm asking. That's a really interesting description, though. We haven't heard it before, and I want you to play that up again the next time you enter the ghost field. But the question that I'm asking here actually is, what does it look like when you see Nyx do that? Because he makes the cutting perspective, and for him, the veil is being pierced and it's being peeled back slightly. What does it look like to Steam?
Okay, if we're keeping with the same sort of natural analogy, everybody drink. It would basically be if Steam walked into a thunderhead rain line, it would look like Nyx was blazing a trail with a machete through tall grass. He's cutting the field. He's forcing his way in. He's making his own path, where Steam just accepts it and goes into. Everybody drink again.
Shut up.
I'm a few behind.
I'm not.
All right. That's okay. So that's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to know what it looks like when somebody else who is basically pushing their way, and that is a beautiful description. So okay, that just helps establish the narrative, the visual narrative that's going on. All right. So we're gonna cut to Esther taking us where?
Is it still to Brightstone, Johnny? Is that?
I don't know. Is it still the Brightstone?
Well, if I was to look through the way that I can, which
Brightstone would still be incredibly significant to you.
To Brightstone, then.
Can she see the knife?
I don't know. Esther, can you see the knife?
I don't know. Mike, can I see the knife?
I don't know. It's a ghost field thing. So if you're seeing that way,
Louise, check your. I must do something.
I can see the knife. The knife is known to me. It's a very lovely knife. Congratulations.
God damn it. C's just over here, like, swirling her sashes, just chilling, waiting for you guys to finish whatever you're doing.
Steve, are you in the ghost field at all? Or are you just normal Steam? Okay.
Yeah, oddly enough, and it would be very evident for the 3 members of the Shroud, he is not slipping into the ghost field. He is remaining visible, which is odd for him. So
I'm assuming saving your energy. That's what OC would assume. Based on what she saw before.
she assumes correct.
I'd assume he's just not being a peeping Tom at this point.
You assume incorrect.
Okay, so we're gonna cut to Brightstone. So I'm gonna describe from a narrative perspective what it is that actually Esther sees, or what it is that she knows. What she actually knows at the what it is that's going on with her, what's drawing her to Brightstone, and then I'll describe the situation as it currently it stands after what Nyx has just experienced as a result. So, Esther, when you're tracking this thing, when you're looking in the, it's almost like the absence of something. It's like, as it was described, in the one shot, as it was described, when you look at the man in white in the ghost field, he is essentially this matted white thing. He does not shine. There's no energy there. He's just this matted surface. It's almost like he's concealing himself. And that's exactly what's going on, because the other effect of that is it actually is an absence of energy, force, life, but it's how you've learned to track him. So when you see it, and when you see it's this absence, and it leaves its own taint, or it leaves its own residue. It leaves some sort of evidence behind it. And so you have been trying to track it for however long the demon has been trying to track it. But when you came back into the city and you realized that it was in the city, and that you were coming into, to find it, it was very focused on spending a great deal of time in what you know that the body of Sling tells you as was Brightstone. You don't necessarily, you may not know the names and maybe the narrative reason why you need a host to get through is not only for the circumstance of getting into the city, but it's also maybe the knowledge that body provides, provides. So in going to Brightstone, you're looking, there's such a strong amount of residue that you're just, that's where you're being drawn to.
Okay.
Now, when you all enter Brightstone as a group, I'm going to ask you to describe to me how you guys make your way to Brightstone, how you approach cautiously, but I'm going to describe what you guys see first. So Brightstone is in a little bit of a chaos right now. The events of the Opera House gathering, there was quite a large fight that broke out. And so there is an increased presence of not only bluecoats, but it also appears that there are Imperial soldiers on the streets out with their whispers. And they're trying to figure out and track down what is exactly happening in Brightstone right now. Now, granted, this is probably a good 5 to 6 hours after the event that happened in the one shot. So it's still a fresh circumstance in their mind. How do you guys approach Brightstone? And how do you get there?
I say we use Bowerstone.
Well, yeah, I've got a wagon that we can use. The only issue I have with that, though, is I don't know if it's got any Bowerstone.
OC had her carriage drop her off. We could take hers.
So before any of that, if we see patrols and stuff like that, Nyx again turns to Esther and says, "Where in Brightstone are we going, and what are you looking for?"
Can't you just trust me enough to follow me?
It's not a lack of trust in you. It's the fact that there are dozens and dozens of whispers that are here looking for our new city guest and his friends.
Well, doesn't it make it more exciting?
It doesn't.
She doesn't know, do you?
I know where he is.
You'll be sadly mistaken if your he that you're referring to is Caius.
How do you know that name?
Oh, I was at his gala. I fought side by side.
Perhaps you are more useful than you look.
He's not here. And if he is, he won't be for very long. He's leaving the city.
We must hurry then.
He may already be gone.
Trust me. Nyx, was it? He hasn't.
What if I tell you where he's going to be?
I am afraid I cannot allow him to leave, if that is his prerogative.
Interesting. Well, lead on then, I guess.
We are to take this wagon, are we not?
If you guys want, Nyx could have showed up in one of the, you can flashback or whatever, Nyx could have showed up in one of the unmarked mercantile wagons from the Leviathan. There was one parked outside of Eden.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a real leading question here, just to kind of start to determine the mechanics of this situation, rather than or to expedite the storyline a little bit from a narrative perspective. What is it that you guys are directly attempting to do? Are you going for what she wants, what Esther wants, essentially?
Yes.
And so, from a score perspective, does that mean that you're assaulting?
I don't know.
Right?
We don't know what we're going for, so it's hard to pick the score.
But that's why I'm asking. Is it the fact that you're assaulting Brightstone? Like we
could be stealthing in. We could be slitting by everybody. We could be just going
that's
guns
why I'm
blazing.
asking.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know what we're up against. We have super vague information, so I don't know. So I guess the best question is, Louise, what would be the best way to find this thing? What kind of score do you think it would be the best?
Well, probably assault, because he would know we're coming. If I know he's there, he'll know I am there.
Okay. So there you go. So assault.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the engagement roll, and we're going to cut directly to the action to prevent you guys from having to deal with the actual getting to wherever he is and that kind of a situation, right? Let's talk about positives. Sure, one die for sure luck in this particular case. What else applies as a positive?
God Squad.
I was going to say element of surprise. Do they know that we're coming?
Does who know that you're coming?
Well, let's think whoever we're assaulting.
So you're trying to basically gain entry into Brightstone, which is currently under lockdown, very similar to Crow's Foot. But what you're assaulting essentially, or what you're going after, is your ultimate target is what's known as Chaos, or the Man in White. So, does he know that you're coming? Absolutely. Does the city know that you're coming? Not necessarily.
All right, so there's a bit of a neutral standpoint then with that.
Exactly. God Squad is definitely something that I think Greg has pointed out in the past in respect of a positive if you were going after this particular circumstance. What else applies?
Nyx was just here and would at least know his general way around the city, or what's going on, or had talked to him, or could trick whatever.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's 3d6 so far. What else applies?
We got a demon with us.
We've got a demon.
If we are doing this by specific rules, this is daring as fuck to be doing this. So that's in and of itself should be +1 die.
Okay, so
high stakes shit, man.
The demon,
daring demon.
The demon.
His name's Darren.
a daring demon named Darren.
I don't know if we got the God Squad one, but I'd like to at least get the Sling and Steam one. This is
well. So you got the God Squad one, right?
Okay.
Because that really is. That was the first thing that was suggested. So it's one for God Squad.
What about the fact that OC is real high right now?
Nope. Sorry, it doesn't.
We just haven't addressed that yet.
I have a gun.
She's just eating crackers in the back of the wagon while you guys are going about your
The fact that you have a gun does not apply here because
what about free guns?
What about a master swordswoman?
It does not.
We have a knife. That's obsidian.
I have a
super cool.
Okay, guys.
What about determination?
Let's bring it back.
What about
in.
love?
I have a stipulation.
Okay.
And this is to Esther. And Sling would look at her and he would say,
If you want us, to assault this man and his forces. I cannot fight with you. I need to fight with my sister. Only the two of us will see your victory. And you know I'm telling the truth.
Very well. You'll get your wish. Sounds interesting, to say the least.
You have no idea.
Maybe I did choose the right meat sack after all.
There will be a day. But not today.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, so Steam wants her back. Steam wants Sling. He needs to fight by Sling. He is trained with OC. They have trained together. He has fought and bled and conquered with Sling. He needs her to do this.
Okay, so what? But what does that mean mechanically speaking for an engagement roll?
If I get Sling, that's at least another die, man. Because we've got shit that.
Well, right, but so again, let's go back and examine the one die that you got specifically for God Squad.
Oh, yeah, we can take that. I'm sorry.
That's all the weight.
That's
in
we can.
No, I'll just go fuck myself. We'll just do
No. That's
the high's wearing off. Now she's just sad.
Yeah. OC is included in all that. It's just that they've trained longer. I mean, obviously, Sling and Steam have trained longer.
Right.
I think that's a die for that. I think that makes sense.
Well, but
no, if it's for God Squad, if you're give us one for God Squad, it's everybody. Yeah.
Well, so let's go back to the let's start this over. Right, there was one die for Sherlock. There was one die for God Squad. There was one die because Nyx had just been in this particular circumstance. There was one die because of a demon, and then there was another die for something. You guys had
just the normal +1 you give us.
No, because that's the first one for Sherlock.
Oh, okay.
I have an argument for another die.
Okay.
It states in the rule book that if the plan's detail expresses vulnerability, and my argument is if we can do what Phantom couldn't do, then that does in fact express vulnerability because they didn't and couldn't, and we can and we did.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. So what do you mean by vulnerability? What could you do that Phantom couldn't do?
They couldn't do this.
Everything.
Yeah. Beyond the
get on the demon's not good side, but like she's willing to help us because we're willing to help her. So maybe like the camaraderie of
that's it. Yep.
Working
with it.
The demon being more willing to help us because we've been gracious hosts and not punched her in the face.
Okay, so
the demon said it itself. She picked the better meat sack and the better group than the one that she was with. I didn't say that. That came from Master, man. It's right in itself, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so for the fifth one, you're talking about the fact that you were able to strike a deal with a demon who they were just willing to basically bludgeon or otherwise keep unconscious until they could figure out what to do with. So that is definitely a factor that's in your favor. I agree. 5. Also, somebody said that there was 6 because this was actually a bold or daring circumstance. So that is 6. Now let's talk about some negatives. We've got a couple of negatives. One will be a definitive negative that you will lose one. One is a possibility. Does anybody else have anything else though? That might
because it's crazy and he may know what's going on, but we have no idea what to expect. By the way, did Nyx tell us what happened at the thing on the way? Okay, so we're walking into this blind. Thanks, Nyx.
Okay, so that actually is a negative, right? So that becomes 5 because you're walking into a blind situation where Nyx actually does know what's going on. So I'm a little surprised that Nyx didn't say much of anything about.
Well, I mean, I can. We just did a cutaway quickly, so I can.
Well,
it
was a question. You could have just assumed.
We had plenty of time to do that. Between the
you would definitely, you would
say
definitely have time.
Then if we're he would have given them the fact that there was a gala with a lot of the who's in town, and it was raided by someone who's not Blue Coat, Inspector, or Imperial Army.
All right, so for expedience purposes, though, because there was actually a lot that happened, right? There was the speech that he gave, there was the circumstances of his escape, there was the what you're calling the Red Dwarf, there was all the conversations that you had prior to that. Is there anything that Nyx would leave out of that description?
Yeah, the Man in White speech, Nyx's conversations, those don't seem relevant to this. The fact that it was raided, who it was raided by, the fact that the Man in White escaped, and the fact that he's likely not even in the city.
You already told her that he escaped, but yeah.
Yeah, those are the things you mentioned. The conversations don't seem relevant to Nyx at this moment to fighting him. Especially if Esther doesn't want to know where he's going to be, they don't seem relevant.
Okay. So, given all of that, that does not count against you. That's not a removal of one of the 6, because he did clue you in as to the circumstances of the situation that you potentially are walking into. He didn't give you all the details, but he gave you enough to make sure that it was an important, or at least you understood the situation as it stands. Anything else that counts as a negative? The fact that, so one other thing that you said, OC, was that it's batshit crazy, or I'm implying that. You got a positive for that because this is as daring as fuck, right? This is a bold move.
Well, it's also it's not going to be easy to get in with all the chaos, is more what I meant. Like the bridges getting in, like the,
Right, but that's actually that's a part of the daring. So it still counts for, in my mind, it still counts for a positive. If you want me to remove it as a positive, I will remove it. But yeah, I see what you're saying there, Greg. Can anybody else think of any negatives, though?
He knows we're coming?
That's one of the negatives, right?
Okay.
That he knows that's one of the ones that I'm going. That's the definitive one, right?
But
he knows you're.
So my question with that one is, does he? Because would he be much more worried about the fact that Mother May is possibly injured and the fact that the Red Dwarf is chasing him? To pay attention to whatever Esther is.
But he got away because you stepped in. You intervened with essentially the Red Dwarf, and then Sky, stepped up after.
He's just high alert at this point. Then okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
I thought you meant he knew.
However, no. Well, he might not know that whatever Esther isn't alone coming.
Right, but also, okay. So from the circumstances of the one shot, one of the things that he said in his speech was he was doing this very differently. He was very, very public about it, right? And so that public implies that he was expecting there to be threats that are going to come at him. So he's on high alert regardless of that. Whether it's typically that he knows that you're coming for him is something completely different.
Okie dokie.
So anything else negative that you guys can think of? Because that was the one that was definitive for me, was that he was going to be on high alert. Is there anything else negative that you guys can think of?
No.
Okay, so this is the one I'm throwing out to the table as a possible negative. You've used demon as a positive. The fact that, while most of you don't know this, he is a demon, is a negative. Does that make sense to you guys? Or, I mean, because it's basically equal ground, equal footing, equal.
Yeah, I would say just cancel each other out.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So it sounds like that's the final dice pool is 46. So given that Esther is leading this, why don't we have Louise go ahead and roll that on her sheet using the fortune roll?
I would love to. So
Be kind
much.
to us.
God, I don't think I've ever rolled a fortune
1d6
before. What do I do?
They're down.
What do I do?
Below. They're down on the left, or sorry, on the right side below rivals. So like your friends kind of a thing. There's a little button that says fortune roll.
Yeah. How many dice do we have again?
4.
4. It says input notes. Do I need to?
Nope, you're good. Okay, so a 5.
Ooh,
Reasonably good
2 ones
success.
there,
A
that's
little
terrifying.
bit of circumstance. So you. Okay, Mushu, thank you.
Suddenly, Brightstone is overrun by cats, and everyone's distracted, and you go straight through.
Hey, Johnny. Speaking of which, I have a lovely crit that was given to me earlier. Can I use that to crit the shit out of this fortune roll?
So you were not here when last season when we declared that crits cannot be used for fortune and engagement rolls because very early on they were used and it became it set the circumstance so easily, that it was so much, so easy for them that they just basically walked through the circumstance.
I completely understood.
That was the only 5 minutes of the entire season that you missed watching. All 4 times, every time, same bathroom break.
Right.
Weren't you the guy behind 6 and 20 stats? The tweet, anyways. Okay, so no. When you enter Brightstone, engagement roll is really good. When you enter Brightstone, you are actually able to use Reymond's credentials on top of the chaos that's going on to slip mostly in.
Oh, hang on.
No,
Whoa,
he's not Reymond right now.
At all?
No.
Let's not pop out with the mask on and be like, it's me.
He has the mask on.
Are you wearing the mask? Are you wearing the mask?
I've got a whole get up on.
Okay, that wasn't made clear. I thought that you were holding on.
I was waiting for you to say, what loadout have you got? I was waiting for your words, sir. Would you like to know my loadout?
No, I don't.
Narratively, before you drop your load, you can easily say that you were Bowerstone until we got in there. We know it's you, dude. I mean, you can...
But if he gets seen with us and then when we're fighting together...
I don't get associated with criminals. I'm a good man.
What? As long as he just sees Nyx, we're fine. We can sit on the other side of the carriage. They've seen Bowerstone with Nyx and OC.
It's a risk. It's such a risk to even be associated with going into Brightstone.
It's chaos, though.
You guys can go in and we'll get out before we go over the bridge. We can get in that way.
It will make things easy going.
Who's guarding the bridge, Johnny?
It's the Imperials. You've got
Nobody is guarding the bridge into Brightstone. There are a number of bluecoats on the streets, policing the streets, trying to clean up and keep people safe. The Imperial Army has also been called in because there has been some sort of chaos. And what you would know as the red, the faction in red and white that was being led by what you're calling the Red Dwarf. They were the ones committing the attack, on the gala. So that's who you would see if there was any type of skirmish whatsoever from what they were policing. That's what you would see is you would see them getting into conflict with either Imperial soldiers or the Bluecoats. But there's so much chaos going on as they try to find and figure, as the Bluecoats and the Imperial are trying to essentially police the streets and find, that whatever remnants of these individuals that they can, that it would be easy for you guys to actually slip in, using, at least in my mind, using Bowerstone as an in because he's trying to show that he.
So, are there Bluecoats near the bridge? How soon are we going to encounter Bluecoats?
You would encounter them on the streets. They have not shut off the access to the streets because of the chaos.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we can get in there.
So then, instead of using Bowerstone as our cover, the first group of Bluecoats that we see that may or may not stop us, Nyx will come out, and Nyx will speak to them, and he will, grab one of them, pull him close, and say, "I was recently with your captain." Because that's where Bowmore works, right? Brightstone? I didn't just make that up?
Brightstone, yeah. That's correct.
He says, "I was recently with your captain. I saw him fight. I saw him injured. I am here to offer my condolences and see how he is."
Condolences? I'm
Last I saw, he was injured.
Okay, wait a minute. No, stepping out from the conversation real quick between Nyx and the Bluecoat. What do you mean by condolences? Are you assuming
I watched him get injured, so I'm sure I watched him get injured and then I left because I had other shit to do. So last I knew he was under a pile of dudes.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because as I was trying to get to previously with the engagement and getting you right into the action, you are far beyond all of this and at the actual opera house in my mind.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're not using Bowerstone. We would use Nyx as a cover.
I was just using that as a narrative description to get you to the opera house at that point. So instead, you use Nyx and that particular point as a part of the conversation and get yourself to essentially the staging area that is real close where the Bluecoats are currently trying to investigate the circumstances of what actually happened at the Opera House. And you see Captain Balmore, in this particular case referred to as Captain because he's the captain of the Bluecoats, being attended to and barking orders and doing a number of things. You see essentially what is the fallout at the Opera House, and you are surrounded by what appears to be a well-organized, oiled machine of Bluecoats working directly with the Imperial Army to coordinate a street-by-street search using this base of operations right outside of the Opera House. You see inspectors are starting to talk to different witnesses that are kind of around in the courtyard near the entrance of the Opera House. You see Bluecoats and inspectors running in and out of the actual Opera House itself. So how do you want to proceed from there?
If Nyx gets us all the way past that, he again looks to Esther and says, "Where are we going?"
He's close. Very close. And Ronnie, where would this trail be leading me to exactly?
Okay, so the residue that you see, you see that it's all inside of the Opera House. It's all surrounding the Opera House. It's essentially whatever permeated energy that you see, this lack thereof, right? It covers the Opera House. It's this. It's almost like he left you a breadcrumb trail in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. That leads to the Opera House.
That leads to the Opera House.
Yeah.
It's as if he wanted to be found here. What you are seeing, though, is absolute chaos, and you're not seeing him as his presence in the way that you would, right?
Mm. Very well. I suggest you'll prepare yourselves in whatever way you do. Something will be waiting for us inside.
Give me my sister. That is all the preparation I need.
Who do you think is waiting for us inside? Chaos is gone. I led him away.
Something, or someone, is here, Nyx.
Yes, likely a short man in red armor.
We'll see. And if so, I have no qualms doing my business there as well. What I do need before we go in is a knife. A powerful one.
I have a question real quick. So when we left Nyx at the end of the one shot,
Mm-hmm.
where exactly was he narratively speaking? Did he fall? I believe
He followed the man in white. He followed the man in white.
He followed the man in white up the stairs.
Yeah.
So you would know that location of where he came out near the sanitarium or the sanatorium.
Yeah, because he met with Wolf there.
Right, exactly. And you would have seen him going there. I'm going to give you a narrative poke and say you should probably take her there.
Okay. He looks to everyone and says, first things first, you're not getting this knife. Second thing, we're not going in there. The short man in the armor, I didn't catch his name, is not a force to be reckoned with. I don't care what kind of monstrosity you are inside Steam's sister, but you can't fight him. And third of all, Chaos isn't here. He is there, and points over towards the sanitarium.
Very well. But if this information turns out to not be true, I won't need that knife for what I will do to you.
Well, to be fair, I already told you he's likely out of the city. He told us where he's going to be, but you don't seem to care. I left him there.
Then let's find him, shall we?
OC is going to put her hand on her chest to stop her as the group starts to walk up. And, do you need a host? I'm not offering, of course. No. As part of the deal, you do not.
The deal was not that I would leave, just that I would allow for some reunion.
Be sure to hold your end of the deal. And she'll
I
start
will.
to walk up.
The last group found out the hard way. Never break a deal with a demon. That goes both ways. Now, to the crematorium, I believe.
When that's done, Steam is waiting for Esther as she approaches, and before they advance any further towards the crematorium, he says,
Now, I want my sister back. Now, you can do what you need to do outside of her. I want her back. I need her back. If you want a distraction or assault, I need her.
And you'll have her. And it's at that point where her eyes flash back, and instantly you feel that something has changed and it's different, but it's better, it's the same, it's familiar. And she goes limp almost and almost falls, but catches herself.
He goes to help her, and his eyes immediately well up, and he's like,
Sister. No, don't. We have you. Stay strong.
I'm sorry.
Don't.
Steve, I'm sorry.
We're working on it. You just stay strong. You're here. I'm here. We're together. That is all that matters now.
Okay.
Okay.
and he draws her into him, and he just holds her for a second as strongly as he dares. And he just kind of rocks for a second, and he just continues to whisper,
We're together. We're together. Always together.
Osi will put her hand on his shoulder and say it's time, and start letting them.
Before she takes her hand off, he draws her in as well. Just kind of like a half hold as he's holding his sister. He kind of holds her around the neck and shoulders as well.
We are all together now. Divinity has chosen. We are where we are supposed to be. We are where we are supposed to be.
And Osi's going to take a handkerchief out and wipe the rest of the makeup off.
Thank you. Both. I'm gonna kill her, son of a bitch.
It shall be a family effort.
Jilling's gonna sling her gun out and nod.
Shall we, sister?
I think we shall.
And right before they leave, he looks her in the eye, and he says,
And so before
As it is today,
all shall tremble.
at the gods and play,
Sister.
brother.
let's do this shit.
Let's fuck this place up.
It's already kind of fucked, but we'll fuck it the rest of the way up.
Let's rock, Johnny.
Well,
Rock and roll.
what does that mean? Are you going over to this location that Nyx was referencing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to cut to walking over to essentially the sanitarium. It's not a sanitarium, it's a sanctum. It is the primary church or location of the Church of the Ecstasy of the Flesh. And it's this big, almost cathedral-like edifice facade. And Nyx leads you to essentially a stairway, stone stairway that leads to underground of Doskvol. Or under Brightstone. It's very ornate, and it's kind of hidden off to the side. It's right next, flush to the sanitarium. It's not something you would see right on the street. Now, is Esther back in control, or is it still Sling?
It's Sling, currently in control.
Okay. As you get closer and closer, to this particular stairwell, that there is a burning or an intense pain as the demon is trying to wrest control again. Not in a I'm taking over, but it's like I see something, I want to get involved, I want to take control kind of a thing. And it's this like burning desire that just kind of hits you in the back. But you get some flashes. You get flashes that it wants to go downstairs. It wants to go down into the catacombs. And it's almost like a hunger, a desire to follow the trail. But because of this awareness, you also see something else. And that's a smaller sort of residual trail of some kind that's heading off towards the lightning barrier.
Wait. Everybody stop.
What is it?
There is something down there in the catacombs. There's something down there. It wants it. It wants it bad.
Can we give it to it?
It's not all though. There's someone else in it, but it's not here. It's by the barriers. I don't know which one's the one.
It's the it's the one outside the city, as I've said 3 times now. The man in white has left Doskvol.
Nyx has no reason to lie.
I can tell if he's lying.
Steam doesn't need that, but he appreciates it, but he just assumes that he's not. He's convinced Nyx isn't, which is a stupid move, but...
Nyx doesn't lie, he just speaks false truths. He says, I don't know what you see that's down here. Sling, I presume. But Chaos is not here. Chaos has left the city.
Sling, does it want something else?
It wants death, destruction, blood.
He can have it. It just doesn't need you to do it. There are easier hosts. You're too strong for it.
Things can always be easier, brother. If it's outside the city, then it's outside the city, and that's where we're going.
I will go with you.
Steam's going wherever she goes. So it's pretty much up to the rest of you guys to stop that problem.
OC's torn because she wants to check on Nye.
So are you following the trail down into the catacombs under Brightstone, or are you following the trickle towards the lightning barrier?
Where does she want to go? Where does the demon want to go?
Well, the demon wanted more to go to the catacombs, but from the knowledge that Nyx has given us, it's more likely that the guy we're looking for has gone to the barriers.
Okay, so at this point, Steam will get face to face with Sling and stare into her eyes and say,
You choose where we go. This is the end of the agreement. You get a choice, A or B, and then I get my sister.
B.
B it is.
I'm assuming that's the lightning barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Let's roll. Whatever the rest of you guys are doing.
Okay.
Fuck you guys, I don't know if you're coming or not, but we're going.
Sorry, Steam.
So we're going to cut to farther and farther down the street. And if you're looking at the map, I'll give you a couple of points of reference. So this was the sanitarium, or the sanctum. The trail that you were following leads you along this particular path here, down this direction, right? So when the demon, while it's angry that you chose this path, that it was forced to choose this path, the presence that the trickle begins to be stronger. and the pain and the anger begins to subside into more of a hunger, because it is having to serve the body, the vessel, in order to do this. It is not in control. So in a lot of ways, this inner conflict is expressed, emotionally across your body, but also you feel yourself drawn in this direction until you find yourself standing in front of a warehouse just on the corner right here in Brightstone.
Is the rest of the group going with us?
I would assume so.
I figured I'd ask.
And so it's this nondescript warehouse circumstance with a big, wide, open door. And as you kind of, you case the building a little bit as you're kind of looking around, you realize that it is right on the canal's edge. And right across the way, as you're kind of looking around slightly in the distance, just through the haze of the lightning barrier and everything else, you see that there's a little inlet into the cliff face. And across through the lightning barrier, you see the ancient structures of the Lost District.
This warehouse, is there any type of physical presence, like any type of guards or...
There's nothing obvious from the outside. There are no windows, though. There's a couple of doors. There's one actual, just normal door, and then there's like a loading dock door kind of a situation.
He turns to Bowerstone.
Shall we?
So, quick question. This is to OC. The mask that you gave him, I describe it. More specifically, what parts of his face is showing, or is his whole identity covered?
So it's a mask that you put on from the front, and it sticks on the back, and it covers your entire neck, face, everything. And the only thing that you can see are your eyes, there's nose holes, and then a little bit of the mouth.
Okay.
But it's covered in a mesh. So no one would be able to, if someone else put it on, I wouldn't be able to tell.
Okay. So were you able to look into my eyes, though?
Yeah.
Look at
eyes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. All right, you had noticed then that Reymond has been crying. But as he looks at you, he just nods, not saying a word.
Again, Steam would put his hand on his shoulder, and he would say,
"Do not be the man you believe this city wants.
Oh, shit, I have to play this.
Be the man."
He would grab your arm, and from what has been comforting once, this time looks at you with, rage in his eyes, and he drops your hand down, and he starts getting to work on finding a way in.
At this point, Steam smiles and he says,
"Good."
Can I prowl and check out the cargo bay door? Try to sneak by or see what I can see, or...
So there's no obvious window. You could encasing the joint right now, you have, so encasing the building right now, you're not obviously being seen. So there's not like an obvious eye hole of any kind. You're not being studied. There's no way that they could see out to you. Because when you look at the building itself, it's just, there's no windows.
Okay. You said there was a cargo bay door, though.
There was, but it is closed.
Okay,
so it's a lowered, yeah, you could do that if you want. Absolutely.
Just enough that I can see in.
Sure. But a prowl roll definitely makes sense there.
Yeah.
Do you want an assist on it?
Yeah, and I'm also going to use one of my positions.
Okay, so this is actually a really great opportunity for me to describe something that's really interesting since you're doing an assist. I did a bit more reading based on a couple of tweets that I saw. You can there can be an assist for each of the following. You can add an additional die. You can affect position, and you can affect the actual effect. So there are 3 possible assists.
So how do you want to assist? Is what is it?
Yes.
I saw that confused face.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I could give you an additional die, but having a greater effect.
I'd prefer the. We're gonna see something or we're not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If we were fighting and it was like life or death, I could see that. So it's gonna be desperate looking in there? You think?
I would think that it would be risky looking in there.
Okay.
Given the circumstance, because you don't know what you're facing, but you're not facing imminent. You're not facing possible death at this point.
Can I do controlled then with my move?
You can definitely change the position to controlled if you want. Absolutely.
Okay. And then the effect is limited. See if there's a trap in there, or
I think it would be standard because you would be getting pretty much a lay of the land. I don't think it would be great unless.
No.
Unless you could offer me a reason as to why it would be, like it would be like giving you the lay of the land completely. Like,
no, I could see limited.
What type of a roof is it? The only reason I'm asking is it one of those skyline roofs?
No, there would not be any skylights up there. What you would see is probably a slightly slanted roof, kind of tapering to the top. Probably I don't know what the actual.
But just no giving light in.
Yeah, there's no light going in. Absolutely.
I'm gonna push myself and take 2 stress.
Okay.
Holy shit! I'm a fucking ninja.
Oh my god.
Well, wait a minute. So you push yourself. You got
and he helped me.
You got an assist from Reymond, and then all right. So as you kind of crack it open, it's a little dark inside at first, but your eyes begin to adjust because there's actually a bright source of light across the far side of the room. When you look inside, it's a mostly empty warehouse. There are some cargo containers very close to the door, but it's meant to deceive anybody who sees an open door that there's actually something that it's actually being used as a warehouse. Inside, you see the actual carriage.
The white carriage.
The man in white, Chaos, uses. It is his beautiful, ornate, stark white carriage. Off to the one side, you see the albino goat that draws that carriage, feeding in a pen of some kind. But otherwise, it looks completely empty. You hear a sound coming from somewhere off to the far side of the room, but you realize that it's actually coming from downstairs. There's a level below this particular level, and this warehouse itself, the top side of the structure, is about 2 stories tall, and it looks like any normal warehouse otherwise. But it has definitely been converted to just focus on that carriage and taking care of that goat.
Okay. She'll go over and relay the message. Well, it looks like we found out how he got here. I can hear something downstairs. Do you know where is it still across the water? Where are we going?
Is it mostly here, Johnny, that the trail leads to?
That energy that you're seeing, that focus, that trickle, gets even stronger as you spend more time here, because it takes time for the awareness. And so the trail you can follow goes through that direction, through the warehouse.
Does it go further?
It takes time for her to adjust and absorb that information. Like it's not immediate. It's like a gradual thing. But yes, if she was to wait there long enough, she would realize that it ends below below in the ground or the underground of the building, and starts again somewhere outside of the barrier as it gradually comes into focus for her. So
we're on like the edge of the canal, right? We're like between where the river is and the lightning barrier.
That's correct.
So the whole time you guys are doing this, Steam's talking to Sling, Bowerstone's helping OC. Nyx would be at the water's edge, just looking out at the lightning barrier. And when he turns around, you see him putting a necklace over his head. But when he raises his head, he's wearing a black wooden spirit mask that has 2 grooves that go down the eyes. And he is putting a wooden necklace on that sort of glows a little bit. And he turns back and says, "He is there."
I think he got there through the warehouse, so we head down, we see whatever's down there, and hopefully find the guy.
We have fulfilled our obligation.
with that roll, Johnny, that OC had, we should be able to get into the warehouse proper, correct? The main floor?
You know that you should be able to get into the warehouse without being seen, absolutely, because there's nobody actually there on that floor. The only thing that's essentially on the ground floor of that warehouse is the goat, the 12-foot or the 10-foot tall at the shoulder goat. So, Louise, there's your goat.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Sling wasn't so upset right now, she'd be real happy.
She would. This could be a great day for Sling.
This could also be turned into a bar, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll work the semantics out later. I'll put the down payment down. It'll be fine.
Okay. So OC is going to draw her sword, and you see her pull out of her pocket, her coat pocket, a sash, and just wrap it around herself, as it looks ornate. It looks like a piece of jewelry, or like an accessory. And shall we? And just open the door a little bit more and start leading the way down the stairs.
So as you begin to cross the room. That is the warehouse. A couple other things come into contrast or into detail for you. There are a couple of tables where there appear to be affectations of some kinds. And what I mean by that is you see a white suit laid out very nicely on the table next to the carriage. You see other just little things like a cane. You see a wig. You see things that just make you think that this is a costume that you've seen previously of chaos. And so when you cross to the stairs, you get close enough to the goat. The goat notices you, but doesn't make a noise. It's not surprised. It's not frightened. It just continues to do what it's doing, in eating its grass or its hay. And so you make your way silently down the stairs, and you find yourself in what is a small room with a doorway that leads open, and you feel a breeze coming up the stairs, and you smell the water coming through the doorway. And seated at the table below just appears to be one individual, just kind of dressed in off-white suits, just kind of pouring a drink and just sitting there and just drinking.
OC will stop leading the way and look to Sling.
Is there any aura around this man? Or does it continue off and outside the lightning barriers?
It continues through the door.
So it has nothing. This man has no.
No, the demon would let you know that this is a mortal.
So would Sling just shake her head when she goes back to look?
Yeah.
So OC will keep walking and walk by this person and see if he says something.
As you do,
Steam goes dark, by the way, when she does that.
Okay, so as you do this, he just kind of looks up at you. Leans back in his chair and takes another drink. And he points.
She's going to continue walking.
Towards the door.
Sling's right behind her.
When Nyx walks by, he stops at the table and puts both hands down and says, "Is it just him? There."
Shakes his head at you. And as Sling begins to walk by, he reaches out for her to try to grab her.
Can I react?
I'm
watching.
He already has a knife in his back. If he does that,
okay. I'd like to cut his hand off.
Well, so wait a minute. Okay, hold on, guys. So he reaches out.
Escalated very quickly.
What does it mean when you say knife to his back? You mean like threatening to his back, or just are you
threatening? Yeah, he's not going to kill strike yet. He's just, if he's making a move against Steam's sister, he is going to let him know that will cost him his life.
Okay, so he doesn't stop moving. He continues to move forward to reach out for Sling. He's starting to get up, and he reaches out for trying to grab her arm and continues to move forward.
I'm going to level my gun at him.
He dies.
She'll also push him back a little bit. He dies.
Okay, so what do you mean by he dies?
I'm going to right to the base of the skull, knife. I mean, if he's hell bent on her, I'm going to prowl the shit out of him. And
So I'm going to make you roll this one because I want to see if there's a consequence in this circumstance.
sure.
But you are going to get a +1 die because it's a situation, or actually it's going to be a controlled situation or sort of controlled position, and the effect is going to be standard. And we're not going to bring it up to the table for that because this is a very specific result that's going to happen depending upon if there's a consequence or not.
Okay, now you said I get a bonus because it's a surprise. Do I also get
No. I was going to give you a bonus, but then I realized it would be better to give you a controlled position and a standard effect, and that just be the circumstance. So whatever the attack is, just go ahead and roll it unless you want to push yourself or give yourself a devil's bargain.
Well, coming out of being dark, I also get a +1 for prowl.
Die?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and use that then. All right. You complete success. Blade goes completely into his skull, and he goes limp and just falls to the ground. As he was reaching out, his hand brushes Sling slightly, just on her arm and shoulder, and at that, the demon reacts in pain a little bit.
All right.
Steam turns and looks beyond Sling inside, and he says,
Part of the agreement. I have protected you. You will give me back my sister.
and he keeps walking.
So as you step into the next room where you smell the moisture coming from, you smell the canal water, you find yourself essentially in what is a little bit of a dock that's built into the stone structure, or the stone, ground that the warehouse is built on. And there, on one side, tied to a little dock, is a white gondolier's boat. And it's obvious that there's a berth for another boat.
Steam walks down and jumps in.
Sling.
Just gonna look around first. There's nothing in here. No one. No. Okay. Just.
Yeah. There's an oil lamp burning, illuminating what little that you can see in this essentially cavern under the warehouse. But otherwise, no.
Okay. Shall hop in.
Nyx is the last person, I think, to get in. And
I'm not actually going to get in.
Oh.
He's going to wait on the outside. You see him about to jump in, but he doesn't.
Okay. So Nyx walks past you and squats down at the pier and leans in towards the boat, and he says, "You know what's out there? What's past that lighting barrier? Do you know where we're going?"
I don't care.
It's the Lost Quarter. The Lost District. Do you know what
So
lives
they
there?
say.
The worst kind of spirits live there.
One
That's
of them
not
lives
going
in
to
me.
help you. No, I don't think one of them lives in you. I think it's something entirely different. But I don't think that's going to help you. And he points to your rifle or your gun, and he points to OC's sash and says, "I don't think that's going to help you. You might stand a chance. You just be careful, Alderman." And he slides into the boat.
Reymond?
Yeah, I'm thinking how to proceed.
Better plans, Alderman.
What would
There's a lot of hesitation you can see in his movements. Like he wants to jump in, but there's something's holding him back. And unless someone gives him a gentle push in, I don't think I can see him pushing past this.
OC will reach her hand out.
So does Steam. I was just going to say that.
We'll take both of his hands.
His grip is a little stronger, then would have been polite to grasp on as he gets in, but he does jump on.
Sorry, reading chat.
Okay. So, just out of curiosity, who actually takes control of the boat?
Nix.
Okay, so Nix, you reach down, you grab essentially a gondolier's pole that they use, and when you pick it up, as with the boat, it's beautiful, it's ornate, it's intricately designed, just embellished, and it looks really, really old. It feels almost like whatever it's made out of feels like the same material as the knife. And so you begin to kind of guide the boat out of the berth through the opening and out into the canal proper. One of the things that you have rarely ever seen is an empty canal. There are no gondoliers here. That strikes you as really strange. But when you look across the way for the little inlet that into the cliff face side under the lightning barrier, you see that there is a portcullis that has been raised, allowing the boat to enter, as if inviting or waiting for you. And as you begin to kind of make your way across the canal, you see that inside of that tunnel there is a subtle glow coming, but it is not the normal glow coming from fire, anything made with fire. There's no lamps. It's a subtle reddish glow.
And the closer we get to the lightning barrier and the closer we get to things outside the lightning barrier, the two grooves in the eyes that go from top to bottom glow faint blue, and the spirit charm glows faint
Gleaming
blue.
endowment.
The demon inside of Sling begins to scream in anticipation, because what it's seeing is also just an overwhelming permutation of, just everywhere this scent that she's essentially following, this visible scent that she's following is it's everywhere when she looks into that tunnel. And so as you all enter, you can't seem to figure out where the glow is coming from, but it's this subtle red glow. It's not pink, it's not orange, it's just this subtle red. And it's not obvious where it's coming from. And as you begin to make your way through, and it's a tunnel of probably about 50 feet, you come to a very similar opened area, cavern, where there is another boat docked off to the side. And as you kind of come in, you see that instead of a room beyond, you see a stairway leading up. A very old, ancient, weathered, worn stairway out of stone.
As soon as we get to the other side, Steam would turn to Sling and say, "You are here. You do not need us for what is to come."
I may not need you, but something one of you has.
You hear a dull sigh from behind the mask, and Nick speaks up and says, "I go where it goes."
Then you come with me.
And he steps
Was that his Dagger Isles accent coming through?
a little bit.
Okay.
He was driving a boat. He couldn't help it.
Yeah.
I'm on a boat.
Yeah.
Goats and hoes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It seems interesting to me.
It did earlier too.
I missed it.
And he steps,
Okay.
he steps forward and stands next to Esther.
Sorry about that.
If he's promising to share the dagger, is she
He's
gonna
not.
jump out? Well, okay, be there when she uses it, help her, whatever.
Yeah, he's
Is she gonna
going
jump
to
out,
wield
or is
the
she?
dagger.
Okay. I assume you just head up the stairs?
Yeah, if she starts moving, he follows her with the dagger out. Anyone else is welcome to follow as well.
So you find yourself walking up these well-worn, very ancient stairs out of the stone, coming up into a room made of wood and brick, and it is an older structure. It's a very, very it's a design and a look and a setting that you've only read about in books. The stones are quite huge; they aren't bricks. The wood is cut in such a way that it's almost thick like logs. What you know about the Lost District is that it was cut off around the time that the lightning barrier was built. It was originally a part of the city, but it was abandoned a couple hundred years ago. So for that reason, the structures are a lot older. And so you step out and you realize that the floor itself is actually stone slabs laid out all across the floor, and one has been lifted and moved away to reveal the stairway down. When looking at this, you realize that the stone structure or the stone slabs are newer than the stairway that was actually, essentially carved down into the ground to this outlet into the canals. Oh my! Sorry.
You're not meant to be here. Too soon. Go.
So as you step into this room, it's in shambles, but you see a pathway leading towards the outside. Something very different about the feeling of this area, though. You are technically outside of the lightning barrier now, so you feel more energy. You feel more. There's more electricity in the air, and it smells rank. I mean, it smells incredibly bad. How do you proceed?
Once we open into the open air outside the lightning barrier, Nyx kind of inhales deeply, unbuttons the top button of his shirt, and begins rolling his sleeves up the rest of the way. And he pulls the dagger out of the back of his wherever he stores it in the small of his back, and takes a step into the Lost District.
Sling would follow right behind.
At this point, everyone would see the sparrow tattoo as well.
Sling would take very, very much notice of the sparrow. It's a lovely tattoo.
Yeah, he
so
kind of looks at you and sees you notice it and just nods, and then walks into the district further.
So the outside of the district, what you walk into is a small cobblestone street, buildings close to the side, to each side of you, larger structures off into the distance that you can see, structures that are 3 and 4 stories tall, surrounded by other smaller structures. The small cobblestone way that you're on appears to be a series of merchant shops, it's storefronts kind of a thing. And so as you move forward, you find yourself coming into an open air or open courtyard or plaza type setting, and you see various pieces of rubble all around, and you see pieces of cloth that were draped over something kind of hanging and flapping in the wind at one point. And on the wind you hear strange howling noises, and there is one light coming from a building probably a good 200 feet away from you, sitting in the 4th story, and it is the only light that you see in any of the buildings otherwise. And it is the noise and the howling, and there's these strange sounds of these strange of nature just kind of playing all throughout the what the cacophony of sound at night.
Yeah, I guess Nyx. So Nyx, you guys just see him like sort of like stand straight backed, and he looks like tunnel vision towards that light of what you can see of his face, and he just walks completely. He doesn't look around, isn't like perceptive towards the city. It appears as though he's intentionally blocking everything out except for that light, and walks towards it.
Steam comes up beside Sling, Esther, and says,
"Why do you need us for this? By your own lips, you've said that we are not worthy of such a conflict.
You're not.
We've brought you here. Give me my sister. Finish whatever job you need done."
I may not need you here, but I still need a body. And I've grown used to this one.
at this
You
point,
will have her back. As I said, we made a deal. I did not say when you will have her back. Now, your friend over there has the right idea. Doesn't ask questions, just gets the job done. You'll have her back much sooner if you follow his example.
If there's a time for a choice between her life and yours, you may take me. Leave her alive.
I'll consider it. And she'll turn and she'll follow Nyx.
So you're all heading towards the light in the building, just a good distance off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you find yourselves finally reaching the entrance of that building, you see that the door is open and in fact hanging on the hinges. You step inside, taking in the room. It is not lit except for what light trickles in from the lightning barrier into the brightness of the lightning barrier, just trickling into the doorway itself. As your eyes begin to adjust a little bit, and you can see more of that light, just kind of affecting the room. You see that there's a table in the center of this room, and it appears to be some sort of what once was an inn of some kind. There's a stairwell off in the back, and seated at that table are two individuals, both standing, or both sitting at that table, just dressed in off-white color, off-white suits, staring at you.
OC is going to look to Sling again.
What does the trail look like around them?
The trail leads upstairs, and they are saturated in whatever it is. These are definitely mortals. These are definitely people, but they have been touched in some way such that they are just saturated with this. It's this residue of like matted white, just kind of covering up parts of their spiritual like resonance, like the spiritual resonance that they have.
And that resonance, would that remind me of the one that we met before the gondolier?
Yes.
She'll shake her head to OC. It leads upstairs, did you say? The trail?
That's
She'll then look to Steam and just stare at him and then look back as if like we're going through this again, I guess.
what are the two guys doing? They're just the two guards are just staring at us?
They're not guards. They're just sitting there. They don't look like they're threatening you in any way, shape, or form. They're just watching you. But they didn't move at your entrance other than noticing that you were there.
OC is going to put herself between them and Sling as we go up the stairs.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you begin to move by, they don't make a move at all. But again, as Sling begins to move by, they both begin to stand up and reach out towards her as they want to grab onto her.
Can I use my sash to grab one of their hands and pin them?
Sure, roll it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Skirmish. Ready? I've been fucking training for this.
This is the moment.
Risky?
I think you're in a situation where it's controlled because they're not attacking. They're not going after you. They're going after her.
Okay.
And the situation also is that they didn't go address you or come after you. The last time. So you're feeling pretty controlled in this particular circumstance.
Standard effect.
You're limiting it to just him, though, right? Just one of them.
I'm going to hit one of them, and I'm going to assume that Steam is going to take the other one.
Okay, so then it's going to be limited, yeah. You didn't want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
Nope.
Okay, so hand wraps. You're describe to what it's like when you use the sash to ensnare this person.
She's very graceful in the way that she moves when she's fighting. She's not all brute strength and everything. She likes to use, I guess as Bowerbaum had once described in another lifetime, using people's moves against them.
Mm-hmm.
And she will start to go up the stairs, take her sash, turn around, wrap it around his wrist, and push his face into the table with his arm, pinning him. She just wants to hold him for now.
Okay, if you're going to hold him, I'm going to stab him.
Okay.
I'll hold him. You can do that once because it's...
Yeah, so he is, you grab him and you pin him, and that doesn't deter the other one as the other one continues to move towards Sling. And actually, because you've gotten him out of the way, it puts him much closer to Sling, and he gets a hand on her. And again, Sling, the demon screams because
I want to shoot him. Second he gets close to me, I am firing a shot.
Does it hurt Sling when he touches her?
No, but the demon screams in pain.
No,
so the demon inside of her.
So maybe
this is not Sling shooting. This is Esther shooting. If we are correct, Can I tell the shift? Did the eyes shift a little bit when Sling?
Yeah, they shift a little bit.
Okay. Man, I want to do something else here. Johnny, I'm going to restrain the guy, but in doing so, I'm going to take the guy and Sling down in a heap.
Tackle. You want to tackle the both of them?
Wait a minute. Okay, so the consequence of OC successfully used her sash and was able to restrain the guy, but because it was a 5 instead of a 6, there was a little bit of a complication. The complication was that it gave easier access to second guy to go after Sling. So what you're going to do as that guy has touched her, you're going to grab both of them, or you're going to tackle both of them as she's pulling the gun to shoot.
Correct, and I'm going to do so as nonchalantly and unintentionally as is humanly possible, or godly possible.
Would I be able to get the shot off beforehand?
Who rolls better? One die each.
No. Actually, Sling declared that she was going to shoot first, or Esther declared that she was going to shoot first. So why don't you go ahead and roll that?
God, it's like hand and
Position is risky, though.
Effect is...
I would say limited. Cool. Given that you're reacting and aiming specifically at this guy.
Bonus dice.
I can't think of a reason why you would get a bonus die here, because this actually is, you're reacting to a painful circumstance.
She's also never used a gun before, Esther. I mean, maybe she has, but not as Sling, though. Jump into a different person's body and try to...
Go ahead, roll it. So the bullet definitely, the shot definitely goes off. The bullet definitely enters the stomach of the second assailant, essentially. At which time, Steam steps in and begins to tackle. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to skirmish it because I can't prowl this shit. They see me coming. Right? Yeah.
Well, that's not necessarily true, right? Because Sling actually successfully made the shot, but there's a consequence because she rolled a 5 instead of a 6.
You have a crit.
Like I have 2, but I'm not.
Well, yeah, the crit only applies to the action that he takes. This is a result of the other action. As I'm trying to figure out what's the right thing to say, that there's a little bit of a consequence here, right? And that little bit of a consequence has something that will negatively affect him. So if you want to tackle them, there's going to be a risk in you actually having an effect on Sling. So it's going to be a risky position.
Okay.
And the effect is going to be, in my head, it's going to be standard.
Okie dokie. And I'm doing skirmish, right? That's what we said? Or I'm doing prowl?
Whatever you're doing, whatever you're using for a tackle.
Okay, if you're saying that her thing gives me prowl, I'll do prowl. Risky.
Wow. Okay. So when you tackle, you're actually able to tackle both of them, but you do it in such a way that you break the neck of the individual, the second assailant, but don't otherwise harm Sling at all. You're able to just kind of there's a blunt force. You break the neck. The guy goes down. He's dead. The gunshot would have been painful, but he actually drops down.
At this point, Steam points to the one that OC has restrained, looks right at Sling and says,
"You have your body. Finish this on your own."
That's almost funny. I don't think you quite understand how this works. I have a body.
You are breaking the terms of our agreement.
Am I?
Are you?
I am to give this thing back, agreed. As I said before, I did not say when. I'm here for one purpose, and one purpose only. I am to do that now.
And what if I say no?
Well, it's bye-bye, sister.
Oh, okay. Did you say sister?
Slade pees a little.
No. At you threatening that, Steve, you might need to step in here. Bowerbomb essentially is pacing up to her, and he looks like he's going to smash her.
Steam will intercede in between the two of them. And in doing so, we still have an alive guy that's pinned, correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm just tugging him a little bit from behind.
How close are we? He almost reached Esther, correct?
No, he didn't get very far at all. He slammed onto the table. It was the other one who had reached Esther.
We're probably a few feet away.
How do you believe that you will be able to proceed from this point? It seems that you are incapable of getting more than a few steps before you scream when one of these touch you.
I've made it this far.
Not without our help. Turn my sister loose. You're weakening yourself with this display. You do not need her. This is a petulant child in the body of us. God.
It's funny, I thought she was joking when I learned that you truly believe yourself to be divinity. Trust me, I've known divinity. You are nothing. Nothing to anyone in this city, nothing to this city. Nothing to yourself, to your friends.
Can OC spin this guy around and put his hand on her? The hand that's free.
This is a distraction. This is a distraction.
Can I like roll him to the floor and put his hand on her leg? his free hand.
Sure.
I want to like grapple him to put my knee in his back so he's not going to go anywhere. Just like roll him to the floor and just put his other hand right on her fucking leg.
So you rolled a 6 on that, right? Or you rolled a 5 on that, but you had him pretty well pinned anyways. And given your skill level, I would assume that would be something that would easily for you to do once you have him in control.
Yeah, he's going right to the ground. I'm not trying to like walk him around and control him. I just
He wants to do it anyway. It's...
Yeah, here you go, buddy. But you're still in my control. You're not going to like kill her, but you wanted to touch her. Free touchies.
Free touchies for everyone.
He'll probably go into it.
Okay, so what is the result of you spinning her in? I'm sorry,
trying to push Esther into him.
Okay, so when you push them together,
no, the body.
Well, body into body. The pain that would have occurred did not happen because when the second guy's touch continued, the moment he died, Esther was no longer in pain. So you pushing that onto him would again bring back the pain for Esther, and the team would scream.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I want.
Okay.
I'm gonna act like he's kicking or he's bucking or something and push him to the floor and.
Okay.
Oops.
Oops, Daisy. Sorry about that.
I slept.
When she starts screaming, Steam stays the distance, keeping out. He knows how formidable Sling is, and he knows that the body that Esther is inhabiting is more powerful than him. He stays out of reach, but he stares and he says,
"There is easier prey in this city. We have helped you enough. The agreement is fulfilled. Give me back my sister, or fucking burn."
Very well. But you should know one last thing. You chose to broke the deal early. I am not responsible for the consequences that will bring you or your so dear sister. Are you prepared to live with that?
I look forward to the day.
I cannot wait.
Oh, yes, you can.
And with that, I'd like, if possible, Johnny, for the demon to release Sling in a way and move on to pastures new of a fresher person in a way.
To whom?
There's a good question.
That is the question.
To Nyx.
What does it look like?
Well, hold on a second.
No, he's wearing all the shit.
It's all Spirit Bane.
Ah, yeah.
Well, it is Spirit Bane, but All right, I'm going to take a step back, and we're running a little long, guys. I'm going to take a step back and ask the meta question. Are you sure you want to do this next?
Yeah, I got an idea.
Are you sure you want to do this, Sling?
No, not at all.
Put
Put it back on someone on your team.
Go back to Sky.
Right now, if we broke this meta, then I'm going to tell you this right now. As long as Steam thinks Esther's gone, the episode's over, and Louise can go back to Phantoms. That's all it needs to happen here.
Okay, let me broker this a little. Let me break this down a little bit more for you from a meta perspective. Sling will never truly be free of the demon. If you guys don't remember, there's a devil's bargain. And the devil's bargain is that the moment that Jinx hit her, something changed, and the demon will always be attached to her in some way, shape, or form. So the exiting of the demon does not necessarily mean that it's at an end for Steam at this point. What it means is that circumstance is transferring over to Nyx, but we don't know what it still means for Sling. So story-wise,
well, then the deal's not technically broken.
Pause.
Johnny, it's not a deal.
The thing that I messaged you about in Discord, with the you know the thing.
Yeah.
If I were if I were to do that now, and then the episode ends after leaving from that point, in a
whatever you want to do.
Hurry.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, if we're pushing towards an end with Sling, with Louise not coming back, because it's a hard narrative cut there. I'm okay with that. I just you need to take the step and you need to take the action.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to use one of my crit successes to steal the obsidian knife from Nyx.
Okay. So what does that look like?
It's where she's currently stuck between OC, Steam, and this bloke that's touching up on her leg. Okay. She's going to wrench her leg free, like kick this guy in the face almost to get him away from her. And then whereabouts is Nyx in relation to everybody else?
Still standing next to the table where the two guys were.
Okay, she'll spin back from the guys. And is he holding it, or is it in a sheath? Or...
He's holding it in his hand.
He's holding it in his hand. In that case, she'll just come and slam the butt end of her rifle down onto his hand, and then try grabbing the knife from there, and then just sprinting off.
Well, so there will be no trying. You're using a crit specifically to do this. And also remember that as a demon, you have additional, narratively, we haven't really defined all of the abilities. You would just be able to do some things that just seem superhuman in nature because of that. So narratively, however you describe it, you've already crit successed it. So you get the knife from him in the way that you described by spinning around, grabbing it from his hand. What do you do next?
Run.
Where
the trail is. Up the stairs.
So the trail leads you up the stairs.
She's gone. That way.
What does that mean for the rest of you?
I mean, Steam's going to follow. I mean, I can't...
Yeah.
Yep.
We're all following to see how this ends.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know if Slate is. I don't know if Crit Dice is.
Part of me wanted to throw a dagger at her head, but we'll restrain ourselves for that.
Well, then you're still chasing her up the stairs. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to cut to you guys having reached, the fourth level of the place, and you see Sling in the body of Esther just sort of standing there, looking into this room that's lit by what you see as one candle, and there is some weird exchange that's going on between the two of them. Sling, for what you're getting from this, there's a particular way that demons can communicate in my head that is very different than what verbal communication. Maybe it's a sharing of concepts, maybe it's mental telepathy, whatever it is. What is it that what is this hate that the demon has for the man in white, for Chaos?
It's a case where the demon that's currently in possession of Sling has been waiting for this moment for centuries, thousands even of years. There is a lot of bad blood between my demon and the man in white that stems back to because as I imagine it, these demons were once people, they were once alive, and they then passed on, became ghosts. Whatever it was that was tethering them there was so violent and so brutal that it corrupted them in death and made them these horrific monsters. And it's because of Man in White's actions that Esther is Esther.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. That actually fills in a little bit of this backstory for something that is about to happen. So, your Esther is really a demon, and she knows what that means. As the rest of you come up the stairs, you see Mother May laying on a bed in the corner. You see Esther in the body of Sling standing in front of whoever it is that is the demon that you know as Chaos. But when you look around and you look at him, he's not clothed in anything but a robe of some kind. And with the white hair wig removed and out of his outfit, you see a couple of additional features about him that you didn't notice before because they were covered by the wig or they were covered by, aspects of his makeup. His skin is golden. He's very tall, as you noticed before. But when you look at him, his hair is actually quite short and really cropped towards his scalp. And you see that his ears are pointed and that his eyes, when he looks in your direction, are golden. And you realize that he's not a demon at all, but he's something else entirely based on your understanding of what demons are. And so Esther, this communication, this conflict, this chaos that's going on, this cacophony of information, finally, after so much angst at this, he moves to attack you.
And as he steps out towards her, Nyx turns to Steam, and you hear through the mask, "I'm sorry." And he lunges forward behind Sling, attuning with my crit to that dagger, reaching around with my good hand and plunging it into her shoulder. Out of her own hand into her shoulder.
Okay.
Johnny's face for that entire moment.
Sling takes level 3 harm. She is...
Beautiful.
And start building a new character.
She takes level 3 harm as the gash, the blade sticks into her. There is this amazing expulsion of pain coming from Esther the demon. What is it like when Esther the demon dies inside of Sling?
It's almost like an explosion. The black, dark veins on Sling's skin glow almost brightly and vibrantly, and it almost seem to vibrate as if you can actually see the blood pumping through her just rapidly, inhumanly. And she is screaming in absolute agony as this is ripped away from her. She is reaching out to anything that's in front of her to grab onto, whether it's Nyx or whether it's the man that's coming at her. She is digging in so hard, almost potentially even drawing blood, as she just can't anymore, and she just collapses to the ground.
Steam would catch her, but a mechanical question here, Johnny. She's got 2 crit successes. Could she resist this shit? Like, so it's just Esther taking this? I mean, she's still going to get, like, level 1, but I mean, could she resist from 3?
All depends on what you... So, yes, she could do that, but it all depends on your action next. Because as she begins to writhe in pain and she falls, Steve moves up to catch her, and what happens next? Because she basically falls out of Nyx's arms, or arm wrapped around with the blade like this. Because he takes... I'm assuming you take the blade...
Yeah, so he basically he basically comes up behind her, takes her own hand, and forces it into like her shoulder meat. And then once the scream and like explosion happens, he's still holding it in there, and he removes it as he's lowering her down into Steam's arms.
Okay, so as he lowers it down into Steam's arms, and the blade gets pulled out. After the writhing of pain and the explosion of emotion and just absolute death of Esther in the body. By using one of those crits, the level 3 harm gets reduced to level 2 harm. As you see that the wound begins to close up, and she's no longer bleeding, but her arm is still damaged as it kind of hangs limp as the meat has been there. If she uses another one, it'll close up even more, such there's only a light scar there. But she will always have that scar. It will always be on her body. And one of the things about that scar is it separates one of the lines of the veins that is visible on her body. So it's a broken line on her. She will always be scarred. She will always be diminished.
And as you're like cradling her, I assume consoling and dealing with whatever you're dealing with, Steam, Nyx looks down to you, and he takes the mask off and places it on Sling and says, "Get her out of here. She's vulnerable. You need to take her and leave right now."
He looks up, and where if anybody else had ever dared to do this to his sister, he looks up at Nyx and he says, "Thank you." And he scoops her up, and as he did before, carries her from this place.
Watching all of this in stark fascination is Chaos. He stopped moving forward the moment that Nyx stepped in, and the blade was plunged into Sling's body. As you carry Sling away, walking down the stairs, leaving Nyx and OC and Bowerstone standing in front of Chaos, you see a residual outline of a body, very vague in its it's shaped like a humanoid. There are protrusions and grotesqueries that are coming off of the shape, but it's very clear, and it just begins to sort of fade from your vision as you walk down the stairs. And Chaos is just looking at the three of you as a result, with a slight amused look on your face, or on his face, and looks to Nyx and says, "Well, that was unexpected. Did you come to take me up on my offer?" And that's where we're going to end it.
Johnny, can I ask for one thing? Can I ask
Sure.
for one thing? Can I have a minute and 30 seconds to say goodbye to Sling? Because she's going to go.
So we're going to call this an epilogue, right, to this particular set of circumstances. Where is this going to take place? I'm assuming that Sling is passed out right now.
Right. This would be like 12 hours later.
Right.
Goat has been brought back into the fold. We are on the rooftop of a building in Crow's Foot, at what can only be loosely referred to as sunrise in the city of Dusk.
So the hour between, or the last hour of the night and the first hour of the morning. Okay.
At this point, if the two are kind of just staring off, he has her back where he found her, and he would say to her,
I know that you wish to go back with them. If they allow this to happen again, or if you were to fall, I know you love them, but I will kill them all, starting with Sky.
Well, I wouldn't expect nothing else.
and he sees the way she says that, and he stops for a second, and he says,
No. I do not wish to part on such words. I do not wish to part. But I will leave you with this. If you find yourself in this city, surrounded, enemies, and you are alone, look to the shadows and know your brother is with you. Always. And he disappears.
Thing will probably just stay where she is.
The
And is that it?
End.
Okay.
Guys,
Enjoy
on that
your
somber,
stay.
exciting note, that was episode 5 of 6 and 20 The Shroud, The Slingshot. So with that, we're going to get the hell out of here. We're going to do our introductions. We're not going to forget anyone this time. And we'll start with our lovely guest. Luis, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
I bloody loved it, I did. Where? No, actually, it was really good. I was really nervous coming into it because I was like, I don't want to ruin the Shroud. But you guys are great, and everybody's great, and I love everybody, and everything is great. You can find me on Twitter at No More No Less, and here on Twitch as Accidental Legend, and tomorrow on The Phantom, where I will be back with my regular crew and absolutely won't be traumatized at all by this entire set of circumstances. Thank you also just very much quickly to the Shroud in
Enjoy
general for
your
letting me be
stay.
here. This has been hella cool, and you're all hella cool, and yes, love you all.
It has been an awesome time, that's for sure. Another big moment tonight was Steam coming to grips with a bunch of things. So, Greg, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
Greg, Grimjack21502 on Twitch and Twitter. And I did stuff tonight, and I thank everyone that you're watching on this screen all around here, especially Johnny for putting up with maybe 500,000 Discord messages in the past week. I can't thank the regular Shroud guys. I love you so much, and it was such great moments with everybody. I got to play around. It was super fun. But Louise, man, thank you for letting me hijack your character, and thanks to Speedy for letting me hijack you. And it was super fun, and it was something I would love to be able to do again. RPing with you is a blast, and just the week-long prep for this was just as much fun, man. I had so much fun. So thanks to everybody. Mike, thanks for bringing me in on this, bud.
Hell yeah, man. Facing fears and confusion, Slade, who are you? What are you doing here? What did you think of tonight's episode?
So I'm Slade, or Butternips, as what was common today,
Airball.
if you want to call it that.
Bottom.
I mean, you can find me on Twitch and stuff, but I mean, fucking hell, what you guys pulled tonight is something else. It was, yeah, I'm Speechless. Just move on, eh? It speaks for itself what happened tonight.
Face to face with a third possible god, seeing a demon possession and a demon killed. Miss Ginger Ninja, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
I am ex-Miss Ginger Ninja, and tonight was awesome. We got to see some of OC struggle with some of her backstory, and between the two of you was it was awesome. We could keep you. It's up to you. I'm just saying the invitation's always there. If you ever get pushed around a little too much, we'll just, yeah.
I mean, you have a nice goat, so we
Oh
lost.
no,
all
I'm
our
already
goats.
planning goats and hoes. I'm going to
So-
take over Madame Teslin's, and then I'm going to turn the outside into it's a whole thing. We got
I'm in.
this.
I'm in.
Yep.
And last but not least, especially with all of the harassment you faced through the week, through the day, while we were playing in DMs across the internet, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
I don't know what I'm doing here. You guys fucking are hilarious. No matter where I assume that you guys are going, I've said this before, Trindane likes to give me a hard time about it over on Phantom. No matter where I assume you guys are going, you go that way when I'm thinking that way. And it's awesome, it's cool, it's frustrating. I had a really good time tonight. Shock, frustration, amusement, it all comes in playing a game with you guys. So I love having you guys around the table. Please, thank you for spending an extra night with us. I know that it's extra late for you again, so that's 2 nights in a row. Really appreciate it, though. Thank you very much. I'm Johnny. I run the Video Store Cowboy channel. I am the GM for 1520. You can find me here on Wednesday nights. You can find me on Speedy's channel on Thursday nights. You can find me on Tuesday nights with our third crew that just launched last night. And by the way, guys, I just want to say last night was an amazing success. You guys made the crew feel incredibly loved, and the outpouring of support was awesome. I want to thank you all for doing that. It was so amazing. You made them feel so comfortable and so welcome. It's a huge situation, to watch you guys just kind of come together for other groups. So, and with that, thanks, Mike. It's been a ride tonight.
So before we get the hell out of here, guys, we'll be back tomorrow for Havoc in the Hinterlands at 7 p.m. And I'll be back on Friday. I'm probably just going to get blasted drunk because I turned 30, and that's a depressing fact. So I'm going to get shit-faced all day. I took the day out of work, and then I'll probably get drunk on Sunday and do the same thing. But we're
it's a drinking stream.
So it's a drinking stream. But we're also doing a Blades in the Dark 6 and 20 giveaway. If you guys want a chance to win a free copy of this amazing game by an amazing group of people, play in the same world as us, please submit art, music, fan art, fanfics, I don't care, /fics, whatever you want to do. If you want to create a setting inside Doskvol for the 6 and 20 universe, do that and submit it to 6 and 20 art. Hashtag 6 and 20 art. I think that's what it's called. I think that's what I said. Hashtag 6 and 20 art. And we'll get it on Twitter and we will enter to win. I think so far we have a picture with Sling and Goat. We have pictures of, I think, Grin. So there's a bunch of cool pictures. There's a bunch of awesome artwork, guys. Anything that can be called art can be entered in to win this. It doesn't matter if it's pictures, writing, whatever you want. So definitely please do that. Please win a copy of this game. It's amazing. And with that, we're going to go raid someone who is currently playing more 6 and 20. Not 6 and 20, sorry. No one plays it like us. They're playing more Blades in the Dark. A buddy of mine, Chris Wilhelm, he's actually the guy who got me into Blades in the Dark way back when it was in its beta stages. Dropped Dice here on Twitch and Twitter. Go check that guy out. He's currently playing his home campaign. And with that, from all of us to you guys, bye-bye.